Here we are, another Saturday. Welcome, everybody. Episode, what are we? 216. There's probably a synth reference in there. I didn't bother to check. Maybe in the chat you guys could let us know if there's any reference to 206. I'm sure there'd be a module called that. Or...
TX216.
There you go. TX216. Happy TX216 day. What are we? The 2nd of September? Wow. We are in season-changing months now. So you guys are in the northern hemisphere. You're in, was it autumn? And we're in spring here in the southern hemisphere. And yes, it's fantastic with all the pollen flying
sunny
around.
Here.
Nice today, isn't it? Yeah, it's been lovely.
Yeah.
I was watching Sonic State and Nick was saying, but this is not a weather show. I am also not going to be doing a season show. So I enjoyed that show, actually. Hats off to Nick. He did a great show with Alex and Ben. That was actually really cool to have a couple of eurorack modular guys on there. I was actually really impressed. It was good. And I think Nick actually enjoyed it too. I mean, because Alex could talk their head off a horse, and I think it was nice, you know, for a change to have someone on the show talking about stuff that he could just let him talk for hours. It was great. It was enjoyable.
And I mean that in techno gremlins as well. So
he was muted or something at one stage. Anyway, hopefully there's no techno gremlins this week. And in fact, talking about techno gremlins, there's a whole bunch of you there in chat saying hi, and it's nice every week to join us, if I get my words around my tongue properly. Darren gets to wear the yellow jersey. He was first in the house. Well done, Darren. Get on that cycle. Put the spandex on.
I was typing in. There's something wrong.
You could sing that Kraftwerk Tour de France song all week, mate. It's going around in your head. Ian was second with Afternoon Droogs. And then we've got Andy Synchrotron, who's one of our new patrons, which is nice of him. That was a lovely gesture during the week. So big thank you to Andy. And then we've got Chris, who's jumped into StreamYard. And hopefully, if everything goes well, in the chat, I've just posted a link. And please join StreamYard, because just like Kent's pub show and other shows, you guys can jump in and be part of the show. And I do not have a problem whatsoever if you want to mute your camera and just have your voice there. That is fine. There's a couple of guys who I have to. We're going to have to get to this in a sec. There's a few people that I miss. I haven't seen for a while, and I want to bring it up. So hopefully they watch it on the replay and they can let us know what they've been up to. Lady Aptitude was next with "G'day, mates." She's trying her Oka accent. I want her to try and say this next. So this is your next word to say. Right.
Oh, crikey.
Fair
dinkum roof. Crikey.
Jeez. Fair sack of the sav.
It took me ages. I so wanted to know what a dinkum was.
It's fair dinkum.
No idea what it was.
I don't even know what it is. It's something my grandfather used to say. Matt Brown, big hello to you. Merbert, I don't even want to pronounce your last name, but it's an awesome last name. So thank you very much. Kissing the Machine, that's what we should all do. Afternoon, all he says. Original Synths here with a big hello. And it scrolled him in. I'm going to beat the scroll this week. I'm going to fight back. I'm going to scroll back. Here we go. Anyway, so we have got to there. Path Lake was saying good afternoon as well. Big Stevens in the house saying Sawazi Cup, which is a bit of Thai, I believe. Sawazi Cup. Cool. It could be Thai or it could be Indo. I'm not sure.
Is that bugger off, everybody?
I think it's good evening or hello.
Good evening.
Yeah, it could be hello. Homegrown is there. Let's get them all. Mark M, big hi all from Mark M. And then everyone else is talking to each other. And then Synth Addict has woken up and he's actually put his mug on the camera. He's just setting up, so we'll get to him in a sec. Pat Brady, hi all, he says. Kent Spong's in the house. Everyone watch out, duck.
Yay.
He's going to be throwing synths at everyone. And then it scrolled on me again. Wigoo's there. Hello, Wigoo. Awesome job on the chat the other day on Sonic State. Good job there. Who else? Have I missed anyone? I think JP Page 2 might have snuck in. Yep, he did. And I think that's probably all she wrote so far. So it's a boutique chatties, which I think is pretty nice. One day I'm just not going to be able to. I'm not going to be able to read it.
Typical.
Ian Crackles just dropped in. Yeah, good on you, Ian. Now, speaking of people who chat, we do have these guys here. The one next to me on this side. Well, actually, we'll start with Darren because he is the senior
the one
chatty. The one next to me. You poor thing, you could smell me.
G'day. Well, we're just starting to heat up here now at last. We've had our summer, so that was cold. And we're not going to be a weather show, as you say. All right, how's things?
Everyone's answering.
Yeah, good.
Everyone's
Lovely, Darren. How are you?
Yeah, good. Mate.
great.
Yeah.
Thanks,
the better
Darren.
to see you, Darren. All right.
Oh, dear.
Is that a new hat?
No, no, I've had this for ages. I need a new T-shirt though, but the nice is the one I wear every time.
So you sell them as merch,
You pull that
Darren?
off.
Say what? There's 3 people talking
You
then.
sell them as merch?
No point. Who's going to buy one?
We'd all buy
I'd buy
one.
one.
Well, when you start doing gigs,
Yeah.
Well,
When
I've
you
got-
start gigging.
they'll be queuing up.
Well,
You know,
I doubt that.
next
but,
Blackpool Imam.
yeah.
Darren. Next Blackpool Imam.
Yeah,
Darren.
yes. Oh, hopefully. Yeah, that's what. Well, tomorrow is what.
You're already on the list, so you can't
live
look out of
setup.
it.
I'm out. That's all right because I've not got Facebook to get on anything, have I? When is it?
Contact
I know
Jamie.
it's.
No idea.
All right, I was going to say 'cause it's October, but we don't know when.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm setting the live rig up outside the studio tomorrow because I need to work on getting MIDI working correctly. Everything MIDI wise, talking to each other. So I've sort of got my set now sorted. I'm doing the performance side of it and trying to get the MIDI to talk to each other. Because when it unplug everything and plug everything back in, you know what MIDI and flipping USBs like. It's not exactly the most. When it works brilliantly. But when it decides that it can't find itself or doesn't know what a USB port is, that's when you have your issues. But so that's what I'm doing tomorrow. Other than that, I've been working. I just haven't had a chance to do anything. I've been trying to get this live stuff down. I found a few little glitches that I've been trying to sort out, and that's taken up the time.
Glitchy.
Oh,
What's going
I'm
on?
glitching then.
Oh, glitchy.
Glitching out there, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said the
It's
glitch
brilliant.
word. That's what it was.
See, this is what I'm on about. Yeah.
Yeah. So you unplugged your USB and plugged it back in. That's what happened.
No, the thing is, I've not touched anything there.
Well,
I don't know what.
I think we'll have to come back to you, mate, because you might want to reconnect. You are glitching big time, and you're all gone.
Hey, stop motion.
You've gone stop motion. Yeah.
Pussy.
Oh,
Who is next? I think
Who wants
Andy's
to run
next. Big hello, Andy.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Yo, Andy.
I'm a little
Hi,
punchy. Burning the candle
Hey.
at both ends too often with these silly streams and all that. So some of you guys
It's a
were
silly
on
stream.
my well, this can be silly, especially when there's a bunch of failures and stuff. But it was interesting. I did another astronomy one last night on the proper channel.
How'd
There's the
Yosemite
link
go?
to the, Adriatic. It was fine. It's just that we tried to squeeze too much into one day, trying to come back the next day, and so I went back to the problem with all the hotels except for the really expensive one and the Wani Hotel in the Valley and the Yosemite Lodge. All the hotels are at least like 16 miles out of the park. And you already have probably another 6 miles of driving, really twisty roads, which I don't mind. I mean, I'm in her BMW, so I'm driving like a maniac, which is great. But it's because late at night, no one's there. I mean, no one's leaving, no one's coming. You do have to watch out for bears and occasional coyote or something like that. But generally, although you're not supposed to, you can kind of fly through there and make good time. But even then, it's 25 miles just to get back, and then another 20 something miles to get up this Glacier Point Road to the point where all the good stuff is. for the nighttime. And so it took me a while just to even get up there. Then I'm like, every time I get up there, the sky blows me away because there's so many stars you get lost. No matter how well you know the constellations, every time you go up there, your jaw drops. You're just like, it's unbelievable because it's also the darkest sky you're going to see. The clouds are black. There's no light pollution at all. I showed that on one of the apps last night. I was doing an iOS app review for astronomy again. There's a light pollution app, and it shows there's just nothing. There's no light pollution registered at all around Yosemite. It's just totally dark. Anyway, so I got up there, got
Sounds
some imaging
amazing.
done just to screw around. Yeah, it was really great, but I still had some optical issues with these. I had to buy some tube adapters. There's a whole issue. I won't go into details with the focus and stuff, but so I got some shots of the Orion Nebula and Andromeda Galaxy it's on that stream from Glacier Point. But it's fuzzy, and it's just, it's more about, can you see the colors? Can you see the structure? It's a little fuzzy. And, since then I've been taking other pictures. So it's just working out the kinks and stuff. So thanks to you guys so far who've been watching and commenting and stuff. It's a lot of fun, actually. But, late nights, it's not cold here yet, but it will be. And it's just tiring lugging all that gear around and stuff. So I'm a little worse for wear, but having fun. So thank you.
It's worth the pain, mate. It's worth the pain.
It is, yeah, I think so. Always.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning,
How are
good
you?
night, everybody. Hiya. What have I been doing this week?
see
I've
you.
been up and down the country again, looking at houses. But that's a whole different story. I've just finished listening to somebody called Ranzee's forthcoming album, which I have to say is great. But wait for that. My Fringe special audiophile show went live yesterday, and the YouTube version will be Monday. And this turned up this morning.
Yay. An orgasm in a pedal.
So, yeah, not plugged it in yet.
You've got a
but
black one, have you?
I've got a black one. Thank you, Mr. Jim
Pick
Glue.
one up, yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing with that. So apart from that, I mean, it's actually nice to stop travelling for a bit because literally Wednesday I went down to Somerset overnight, looked at a load of houses, came back the next day. So it's a bit like Andy with the just the overnight thing. But,
Fantastic.
Life is all right. Life is good. Not doing much music, but I think I should be doing. Well, actually, I'm starting to pack boxes tomorrow, so in between that, I may get to actually play with that. I'm losing my earplug as well.
Don't lose your earplug. You got another one in the other ear.
I've got. I'm all right. I've got this one. Yeah.
Well, all the best with your move and everything, mate. Sounds like it's an
thank
adventure. An adventure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is an adventure, and we're only just at the start.
Fantastic. All right, mate. On to Andy. Big hello to Mr. Brooks.
Hello all. Yeah, quite a week as well. I've been up and down and up and down. The last Saturday, Neil Wharton and myself went down to Kent's. Took down the W30 and the Pro 1. Pro 1 just needed a few little bits doing on it, and then we found a few more little bits that needed doing on it, and you know how these things go. So that was lovely, going down to Kent with Neil. Really nice. Thank you to Kent and Fiona for making us welcome. Then all my
Good on you,
midweek
Kent.
plans went out the window because I was supposed to be going down to my brother's, but unfortunately they're all ill with a dreaded sea-like thing. So I said, look, I can't stay with you and make myself ill before I'm due to go back to work. But the plan was to go down to my brother's and then go to Kent's to pick the stuff up. So on Thursday, I drove from Sheffield down to Kent's and spent the day with Kent, watching Kent work on the W30. It's ostensibly fixing a backlight. And then once that was done, after we'd worked out which way up it went, because it went in the wrong way up first of all, and then it had to be desoldered and put back in again. And then he's going, oh, there's a problem with your contrast. So he spent an hour working on the contrast knob, only to realise that we hadn't been working on the contrast knob at all. We'd been working on the audio in knob, two identical little knobs, and we were on the wrong one. So that one got repaired even and then we had to go. Oh, the thing was disassembled and put back together at least 3 times. I'm not joking. But if I may, can I move my little camera? Sorry, it's going to be a seasick moment, but I want you to see it because it's a thing of beauty. It's not been like this for over 25 years.
Ooh.
Look at that.
Ooh.
Look at that.
Oh, you've got a screen.
Look at that.
alive.
It's shiny.
You can even read the stuff on it. Look at that. Absolutely
Look at that
tremendous.
80s technology.
Yeah, it's wicked. Got it back. And
Mine's old-fashioned with a boring screen.
has yours got a dead backlight? Has it, Andy?
No, it's
so
fine. It's just, I don't use it much, but it's nice.
No, it's great. And then there was a problem with the modulation section on the Pro One. It was something we worked out that it was nothing to do with the actual switches and pots in the modulation section. It was to do with there's a jack on the back for a pedal to go in, and that had gone funny. So it was constantly sending a fixed voltage out. So anyway, we sorted that, and it's great, and it absolutely works. So I don't know if you can hear, but
Oh, listen to that.
Oh, yeah.
Beauty.
all lovely jubbly. Oh, absolutely lovely jubbly. Thank you, Kent. You're an absolute star for getting those things up and running. So there we are.
Hey, quick question for you while you're
Nice
talking
one.
about that one. Is
I
the
feel like-
Behringer one close with the sequencer and stuff, or is it not really?
The sequencer's got more steps in it. Hand on heart, Andy, I've never used the sequence, or I can't remember using the sequencer part of the Behringer Pro One. The audio is damn close. It's
good.
really, really good. Yeah, absolutely. On the other hand, it's not an original one, and I'm delighted to have that in pretty much full working order. So that's excellent. I feel like I've got 2 new bits of kit. You know, really, that's fully up and running. I can't wait to get back into the W30 and load up some of my old discs and stuff. So
Yeah, it
Excellent.
kind of does.
Very blessed.
When you fix the synth, you kind of go and revisit it again. You're like, oh, I forgot to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's nice.
Mr.
So
Chris,
a big round of applause to Kent.
good on you, Kent.
Yeah, good one, Ken.
That button
Keep
work?
them
Yes.
synths alive.
You have to excuse Chris
Hey.
and I this week because
Oh.
tonight because it's actually raining here, so we're going to have noises. Yes.
There may be noises, and it's not going to be crikey noises.
Crikey.
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 Yeah, no, it's good to see everyone, and good to be here. And I haven't had too bad of a week, but I've been burying my head in the joys of international postage.
Oh, look at that one.
Yeah.
Yes. So I've been something I've kind of avoided for most of my life, and that ended this week. So I'll be coming a full bottle on these things, and no, I'm stumbling through it and learning quickly and doing everything I can to make processes as smooth and as affordable as possible. But yeah, no, this was my first week where I exported my first product out of the country.
Did you end up using DHL or Sendle, or who did you end up using?
I did end up using Sendle, Rant, so thank you
Yep.
very much for your tip.
Cool.
That turned out to be the best and cost-effective option, and which we agreed upon, so that was good.
Awesome.
Yep. So got another one to do next week, and then there'll be someone will have to. I think someone will be given a module with my hands
Yeah, I don't know who that
next
would be.
week, possibly.
Some idiot.
I don't know who that would be, but no, I think I'll have to face someone for first time in a long time. being an introvert, no. But yep, no. So there's that stuff done. Apart from that, I haven't done a hell of a lot of synthy stuff. I did turn on my Pro 800 to make sure it was in tune, which Rance will know what I'm talking about there, and it is in tune. And what else did I do? Oh, yes. Well, there was a bit of testing of modules, of course. I did find a last-minute bug at the 11th hour, and I did fix that bug. So, whew. We don't like bugs in our software, so that's okay.
11th
So apart from that,
bug.
everything's been...
Wow.
Yeah, I know. But everything's been going quite well, and things have been flashing, and as you all know, that's what I do here. I flash. Okay.
He's got a massive trench coat, people.
That's more information we
He's
need.
got a massive trench coat.
Yes.
Right.
I should be arrested.
We're all back. Let me just check something.
We are.
While he's telling me about tuning of his Pro 800, I forgot to tell you guys this. I had an interesting thing happen to mine, and I haven't actually managed to do anything about it. And that is that when I turned it on, and I turned it off, turned it on, turned it off, tried all the old tests, mine was tuned a semitone up or down. I forget which one it was. I think it might have been down a semitone. And what I had to do is I had to go into the settings and transpose the entire synthesizer by a semitone to get it to behave properly to MIDI. So that was weird, and it was an easy fix, but every time I turned it on, I had to go back and change it back to that setting. So, yeah. I guess, kind of watch out for some of these things. My advice, though, if you do have some problems with the earlier, these are the first rounds of the Pro 800 that Behringer ship out. So it's kind of like semi-beta. They get people telling them, hey, this went wrong, this went wrong, this went wrong. And then people will, go, okay, we've had 2,000 people say that this, the tuning thing went down a semitone. Maybe there's a bug, and they might release a firmware patch, or they might... it might be a hardware fix.
Not bother.
Now, so what I have to do is I have to go into settings and press the number 2. And if I look at it, it says 1. So if you guys go into your Pro 800 and press settings and press the number 2, it will say 0. So mine is currently still set at 1. And it will respond perfectly now to MIDI, but that ain't good enough, Behringer. So this is going to go back to the shop where I bought it from. Probably this week. I don't think that's acceptable. Sorry,
No.
So where we're up, I was going to mention just quickly while we're at it. We do have a show that is, fueled by candles and matches, and if you guys do want to support the show, you can in a number of ways. Probably the first way, the easiest way, would be for you guys to subscribe to the channel. That would help. And click like on videos, share them, tell your mates, that sort of stuff. That's a really free and easy way for you to do it. So that's the most appreciated way, obviously. But if you really wanted to become more involved in the channel, you can click the join button down below and give YouTube some money and me the rest of it. Or if you want, you can go and head over to patreon.com/Ranzee and you can become a patron that way as well. And that's all sort of easy ways to do it. And if you forget all of that, the easiest way to do it is just to head on over to my website, which is this website, ranzee.com, and all the links to everything are there. Links to the show, links to blog articles, links to just about everything known to mankind about me and the show and stuff like that. So if you forget anything, that's probably a good place to start. But that's not all. We also have cool things like, where have my buttons gone? This one here, which is Discord. So do chat in Discord during the week. I've had a few people join since I've been pushing this. So Discord is quite busy now during the week, and we have great synthy chats, laughing at memes and all sorts of stuff during the week. And even, when a bunch of us buy the same synths, all of a sudden we collaborate, we write our own user manuals, all sorts of stuff goes along. And that happened with us with the Pro 800. So, and that ended up being a blog article on my website. So, there's people like JX3D and Chris is in there. And Chris's Eurorack project is talked about quite a lot in there as well. So do check all that stuff out. And obviously pinned onto top of the chat is the StreamYard link for this show. Please join us and show us your face if you haven't yet. Or just show us your face if you have before. Jump into StreamYard. That is it for the ads. Why not? What should we get stuck into the show, people? Let's do it.
Go for it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, synth memes is a definite resource that I do tap into to get some of the memes from. So big shout out to Jim Haywood and the guys who run that thing. But because the memes are so good and there's so many of them, you can fit them on this. Chris, what sort of memory speed is this thing? It's like a 120 meg or something. One knows, not in
like
meg. It'd be 120k or something. Yeah.
K,
12K.
Yeah, it'd be 120.
Something
Yeah. Floppy, 5.25 floppy drive. Jeez, remember those?
Not the small one either.
5,
The big one.
12K.
That's the big one, yeah, the 5.25. I used to have a 1541 disk drive for the Commodore 64. Jeez, remember the days, hey? They were really
back when
floppy.
they used to be. Yeah, they were floppy.
There was a 7-inch as well, wasn't there? Only a 7-inch.
Oh yeah, there was the IBM 7 inches. Yeah, that was.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I
the
remember
Fairlight, the
seeing
old
them.
Fairlight.
Mm. Oh yeah, the Fairlight had. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So anyway, requires MS DOS. Next, push. Yeah. That was a good one.
Oh, dear Lord.
Isn't it beautiful? Next, this is citation for violating the neighbourhood noise ordinance. Paper beats rock once again.
Rock once again. Very well said. Very well written.
All guitarists will that. Anyway, take me somewhere expensive. So he does. He takes her to Wagoo's studio. This is Wagoo's studio.
It does look like that.
And look at the
It's not
comment in
dark
the
enough.
chat.
It needs to be darker.
Look at the comment in the chat, people. He's onto it. Look.
Look at those.
Yes, look at those racks, he said. He's definitely looking at the racks, I can tell you that. Next.
Oh.
Mummy, is it really true that bass guitar players are as cool as this air conditioning?
Oh, I've seen this.
Honey,
one, yeah.
not only is it true, they're actually cooler. 101 fantasy stories by bass players. It's great. It's a great book, this one. I mean, bass players have got a dream, don't they? They certainly do. Big shout out to Gaz. Right, next. I'm in the getting old department, and a kid saw this and said, "Oh, you 3D printed the save icon." This is brutal.
Yes. Yes.
Look, people are saying this is not synth-rated Rands. What are you doing? That 3M disc goes in my Yamaha DX72FD. So stick that.
Yeah.
Next,
It goes in my
I don't want to play
I love
opera
this.
music, and you can't make me. The expression on his face is killer.
That's really good.
That's a good one. That's it. We are reached the end, and we've repeated ourselves. Favorite meme of the week, people.
I'll just do that because I've got one to hand out the W30. There you go.
Oh, there you
System
go.
disc.
Look at that. See,
You know, it's amazing.
Disc.
This is my copy of the system. I made 3 copies of the system disc when I first got it, and this is the only one I've actually ever used. Just this one all the time. It's been
They
absolute.
last.
Well, better put the mockers on it. Well, I'm going to put it back in there now. There you go. Back in it goes.
I thought you were going to tell me that you've used it as a coaster as well, and it still works.
Yeah.
No, that's good, man.
I
That's
got one
good.
too. Emax 2.
Woohoo! Yay!
This
Look,
is
everyone's flopping
Kyodai
out their
Synth
floppies.
Collage.
We're getting
I've
our
got a floppy
floppies
to
out.
hand.
Yeah, everyone's flopping out their floppies.
No,
Oh,
Not that
I
floppy.
haven't got a floppy
Mine's-
to hand, Ian. What a thing to say.
I'm afraid all of mine are staying in the back room where they belong.
I've got a cassette deck.
Oh no, Darren's getting
What's that? Is that
I've got a
ZX
case.
Spectrum?
Over here somewhere.
I can't even open the bloody thing. It shows you how long they've been in. Oh, yeah. I've got
Darren's
a case
got
of them.
cases
Look.
and cases. on
Darren's
there.
got colourful floppies.
All
Look at the
samples on
colourful
there,
ones,
the,
see-through ones.
Actually,
Yeah,
I
They
have
go
a wax
faster.
cylinder here somewhere.
we do. That's for the zip drive as well. I've got zip ones somewhere.
Crikey, I've almost forgotten to find out what the chatties said about what their favourite meme was.
Yeah.
I think floppies are going pretty good.
Yeah.
3D
Some
save.
Some were expensive. Was pretty good. I like that.
Floppies for the win, I think, this week. Andy's got some more floppies.
You
This
put
is-
all of your
this
best
is-
ones for like a
This
month
is
in
just
one
this is
show.
just one box. I have two, at least two ones that are double the width of this one, all full because I had the W30, I had the S550, and I had the Atari ST, all working off floppy disk. So what does that one say on it? That says W30 second disk load during hypochondria. So that's a gig disc. It even says on when I'm supposed to load the blood.
Awesome.
That box needs a damn good clean.
So which floppy one do we go with? Do we go with where are we? Do we go with this one?
Yes, I think so.
That one?
Yeah.
Or do we go with the 3D printed one, which was kind of there?
I like the 3D printed one.
Yeah,
I think
that one
for me.
That one too.
Yeah.
Let's go with
Or should we
both
just
of them.
give it to them. Give it both to them. So one was from Synth Memes and the other one was just from the internet. I don't even know who did the other one. So we'll give it to the Synth Meme one. I think that they deserve it. They've been hard working, those Synth Meme peoples. If you haven't checked out Synth Memes, it's on Facebook, by the way, and just search Synth Memes and you'll pretty quickly turn up. And by the way, you guys should know who Jim Hayward is. He's been on Sonic State before. So, yeah, go back and have a look at previous episodes of Sonic State. You can check him out. I think he lives in... Does he live in LA? Andy? I think he lives in LA.
I think he's in California. I'm not sure where. Yeah.
Somewhere in Cali. Yeah, okay, cool. Right. We do have more. We have this. And if you're wondering what this is, you can't read. It's news. And yes, this is back in the news again. And it's back in the news for... Well, you guys will probably think it's back in the news for one reason. It's actually back in the news for two reasons. And the one reason is they are now selling these things for about 43% off their normal price, which means that they're flying out the door. This is the full-size version, by the way. There is a mini that they released recently. The mini's got some cool features. But technically, you can produce the same music in both. Okay? So just bear that in mind. But the big reason why this has been on the news is because they've brought a new firmware out for this. And the new firmware is actually massive. It's huge. It's 1.7 is the number. And I'm just going to grab my notes here because if I don't grab my notes, we're in a world of hurt. We're in a massive world of hurt here. And why do I have to scroll so much? Scrolling is the bane of my existence at the moment. Come on, where are you? Polyan tracker firmware. Here we go. Ranzee's notes. There we go. Right, new features. Okay, why don't we do something like this and go, hey, there's one here. Get yourself one if you can afford. What is it? Guys, look up the price for me. It's pretty cheap.
That's down to $360 now. You weren't kidding. They're cheap.
They're cheap.
It's
New
still
file,
over
new
a
file
grand
and
here.
project management. No, you can get them cheap. Don't worry about don't pay the over a grand price here. So there's a complete new file management thing in here, which is much better than how it was before. By the way, if you're ever wondering, these keys are kind of got that Amiga sort of tactile feel to it, and I love it because it's kind of retro. And these are the gel sort of pads. But extended project file name length to support up to 32 characters, saturation modes on master audio channel, extra headroom in project settings. Now that's the big one. So when you guys are mucking around with samples, especially with the older sort of samplers, one of the things that you do your head in is if you started mucking around with effects on top of samples and then all of a sudden you're running out of headroom. Okay, so this has got a feature in here. I don't know how to find it, but I think it's in the config maybe, or the master. It's in here somewhere anyway, where you can actually go and enable the headroom thing. Geez, my eyesight's terrible. Could be in there somewhere. Anyway, wherever it is, it's in there, and you can enable it, and it will give you extra headroom so that if you do get into clipping situations, it will sort that out. There's a snap to zero crossing in project settings. Okay, so that one is actually pretty cool. So if we go back to the graphic, I don't know if it's that graphic actually. Okay, so it's not that graphic. So when you're looping a sample, you could use this graphic. It'll work. So you guys have looped samples before, right? One of the problems with looping samples is that you get clicks and pops if you don't get the loop in the right spot. And the snap to zero is a feature that will help eradicate any of those sort of noisy loop points in your sample. So that helps out. And so there's the detection of that. It's like you've got these markers, as you can see here, they turn green. There's a new metronome config. There's preview volume for samples from the SD card. So before, if you were like going into the SD card and previewing samples, so you go into sample loader. You guys can't see that because you're on the wrong graphic. And then we go into samples, enter. And I'll just pick him. That'll do. Drones. All right, and we're going into here, and we want to preview these samples, right? So you click preview, and you can see over the right-hand side now we can play with the volume. So it's not going to blow our speakers. Go back. So that's what that is. By the way, guys, how long have I had this firmware for?
About 5 minutes.
Days.
Shut up, Darren.
Yeah.
2 hours.
Weeks.
You will keep, Darren. There's an improved EQ now in the sample editor. So if you go into the sample editor, which is there, and the EQ, I can't remember where the EQ is. Equalizer, there it is. There, and then you select the effect. Bang. So this is all new, this EQ stuff here. There's an improved limiter in there, there's an improved compressor in there, so I won't show you them all, right? So that's where you find them. An empty slot for song mode, so if you want to, in song mode, if you want to create an empty slot, you can, which they didn't have before, which was interesting. I think you had to create an empty project or pattern or something. And now you can copy. This is the big one. I like this. So in, someone get that? I'm not sure who that is. Where are we? So in this mode, you can actually copy and paste, and it's actually really handy to do it in here. So this is actually a pretty cool thing. It's kind of almost like an arranger view, and if you want to look at it from a DAW point of view, right? Because in a tracker, you create patterns. Patterns look like this, right? And then once you've created a whole bunch of patterns, then you group them all together into songs, right? Songs. So each pattern has multiple tracks, okay? And in each song and you can select tracks from different patterns across here, which is really, really cool. So it can become quite random. Anyway, we won't get into what the tracker does. That's another show. So when you're using your arrow keys to navigate a QWERTY keyboard, it fixes that. There was a problem with it not focusing and wrapping around. And building numbers displayed in the firmware, which is pretty handy because before you didn't know what build you were on. I think you go into config, firmware, and it now tells you what build you're on, which is pretty handy. Is that focused? It looks a little blurry, doesn't it?
I think so. Screen's a little blurry, I guess.
Yeah. Is the camera blurry?
Well, with my eyesight, everything's a bit blurry.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just having terrible. It looks clearer on the stream than it does on my screen. I don't know what's going on with my screen. Where was I? There's a whole bunch of new effects, and there's some improved MIDI stability. There's redesign and clock synchronization. There's note correction in some playback restarting modes. There's new pattern and step numbering configs. It just goes on and on and on. And I've only got through probably a quarter of the new features. I'm literally probably not even, maybe a fifth of the new features, right? There's serious amounts of new stuff in this new firmware. And I think it was probably a good time for them to do that, because it's kind of like the people that own the current tracker are probably like, oh, you guys brought the Mini out. There's a few things in the Mini that can't do in the old one, and we're a bit pissed. Now they bring this new firmware out, and it's like, oh, actually, that's actually really cool. I'm kind of wanting to hold on to mine now.
Just sold me.
Be more pissed about the price drop.
Not really, because
I mean,
I'm not pissed about that. I've had mine. I got mine really early, and I got mine cheap because it was an early release. So yeah, there would have been people who would have paid more, because I got mine on a.
You can still
forget what it was
you
called.
can still pay $659 here in the UK. I mean, there are the cheapest is $349 from Signal Sound.
Yeah.
If you just go to the Polyen website and buy it straight from there. Yeah.
349 from Elevator, right? Rubber Dub 659, and Gear for Music, my mates 699, I think.
Your mates.
They've just not updated
Hi, Andrew.
yet, surely. They
they
can't
think
sell
so,
it
wouldn't
at
you?
that, no.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but nobody's going to buy it at that now.
Anyway, do check out their Webby and go. Did I just literally close their website? Why did I just do that?
I was just going to say,
Go check out their
still says
website.
$699 USD.
It does on their website, but you've got to go to their shop or something, or their distributors to find it. And
Just a store at the top.
here,
It's
go
weird
to latest
buy,
firmware.
let's see.
Actually, why don't we do this? This may even be even better idea. Hopefully this works. Last week we had a problem with audio. I think it was because we were on StreamYard. So let me know if the audio comes through when I do this.
Yeah.
Yep.
All good.
Yep.
I like how it says tight MIDI sync, but the beat is very sloppy.
Andy.
There's that project headroom. There's the snap to zero. Don't forget too, there is actually a synth built into this. There's a granular synth. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff in this as well. So it's not just a project tracker sampler player thing. I should mention that while they were showing that video, I kind of remembered where half the stuff was. Oops, that's the wrong button. Where's the right button? Where's the goddamn?
Well, you see, that's what happens when you've had it for days.
Yeah.
So there's
For the
the
price, though, you can't go wrong. I mean, it's definitely a no-brainer at this point. So
yeah. So there's that MIDI. This was a big thing, by the way. I think because I actually remember when I was showing Polyen Tracker on the stream. I've shown this a few times on the stream, and someone jumped into chat and said, "Is there a way I can do clock sync correction in it?" Because that was a big thing with these, right? And if you have a DAW, you can fix that problem in your DAW. But if you don't have a DAW, you're just using all hardware, this thing's going to be able to sync depending on your MIDI setup, and now you can fix it in here, which I thought was actually them listening to people. And I wouldn't even be surprised if they were listening to us, because it has happened before. So whoever that was, they're probably a regular on here. Let us know in chat if that was you, or let us know in the comments if you're watching this on the replay, because it definitely Polyen have been listening. Anyway, Insta buy for you, Andy. Are you going to buy one?
one point. I mean, much more inclined to do it now that it's so damn cheap. I mean, it's cheaper than the last eyepiece I bought. So
I tell you what, like, I'm not trying to sell this thing or anything, but I have had a lot of fun with the synth thing on this too. But just going into the granular synth on this is so cool. One of the things I like about the big version versus the mini is that's old fellas like me, that's a decent sized screen. All right, Darren won't have a problem with it either. Well, he might have a problem with it for other reasons. He'll have a problem with it for other reasons. I mean, he's just, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Not as many lights. I never got on with trackers originally.
How do I preview this thing? Oh, that's right. You got to change the position. So change the position, change the length. And you just have so much fun with it. And you can actually, like, you can record this as well. So, like, this is just you setting things up in your... But you can actually record this while you're mucking around with it.
Several guys on Harvard Jams are doing great tracks with just the tracker.
Yeah.
True.
It's probably not the best sample. Why did I choose that sample? Anyway, but just playing with the granular synth is awesome fun, because I actually think it's one of the it's a mono one though, so but it is good. So yeah, I would love if the Argon 8 guys, you know, at Modal adopt some of the UI from Polyend in the app that you can get for the Argon 8, and you were able to do some of that stuff in there, because that would make the Argon 8 killer. So yeah. Anyway, you guys can chat about it for a bit.
It kind of reminds me of the old like Radio Shack portable computers and some of the old typewriters that were miniaturized back then. That had the colorful keys like that. It's kind of this weird hybrid of those technologies. At a glance, you know,
like
you didn't know
Amiga.
what it was. You go, what is that thing?
Yeah. It's. I reckon it's just like an Amiga. If you ever had an Amiga.
Yeah.
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 What about you, Chris? Are you into that sort of stuff?
Yes and no. I haven't. I have to admit, I have avoided sort of looking too closely at trackers. Sampling in general, I've kind of stayed away from. It was only when I got the texture lab that I sort of started getting really back into it. I've always sort of done my sampling and stuff on the DAW. So yeah, it's been a long time since I've really sort of taken it seriously. I have to admit, I've sort of my sort of feeling has been I've been looking at something like an Akai Force or something, just because of the combination of things that I thought it might work with me. But every time we see stuff about the Polyend tracker, I'm always interested. I'm always like, you know, this is interesting, you know, and I've always liked the look of them. But yeah, it's I have to think a bit about it. This I'll have to think about it overnight, because that is a pretty
nice
good price.
big screen, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't really want to keep on buying more stuff. I want to use what I've got. But you know, that's not the industry we're in. When the deals come then.
That it is the thing, isn't it? Like, you've got to either have extreme. What's the word?
Discipline.
Discipline. Yeah.
Self-discipline. Yeah.
But it has.
It also reminds me of this guy too.
I am wavering.
What is that?
Speaking of cassettes, the Philips PM100. It's a 2-operator FM synth, multi-track, touch keyboard, and a cassette deck inside that you can record to and do stuff. But it has this kind of looks like a tracker.
That's the only link to it. It was pretty lame, if I remember rightly, Andy. That thing.
I've heard people do some pretty good stuff with it, actually, but it is only a 2-operator synth. It's very thin.
That's why I thought it was pretty lame myself. Yeah, I remember
with
when
effects,
it came
anything
out.
sounds good. So.
That is true, but there's only so many doorbell sequences that you can do.
But look how cool it looks in your studio. Look at this guy.
Look at that photo. That is the epitome of the 80s. Look at that.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Good old Phillips.
Yeah, but stick it into your microcosm and voila.
How many times did I spell Phillips with 2 L's when I was a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't just me, right? It was you
No,
guys
no,
as
no,
well.
it's me. I didn't.
I bet you Brooksy didn't.
Don't talk.
I bet you Brooksy didn't, being the big linguistic man that he is. I reckon he was
Yes,
perfect with his
I would've
spelling.
thought so. Yeah, no.
Not in English.
I barely passed.
Yeah.
I barely passed English in
Not English.
high school, so don't talk to me about
English
spelling.
spelling
I'm the
still-
worst.
English spelling still defeats me. It really does. No rhyme, no reason, or sense to any of it. So, no, nope. Ridiculous.
Even as
That
original
type of spelling
cassette
reform.
tape for it.
Yay. Yes, but Phillips is Dutch, not English. Good point, native. Yes. Yeah.
Hi, Robert.
Hi, Robert.
Yeah.
One of
I
the
seen all
words,
those.
one of the words that used to get me when I was a kid was Scottish and British. Because I think British has got one T and Scottish has got two T's, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And that used to always, I think I used to always spell British with two T's and Scottish with two T's or something. There was one of them I ran the wrong way that I used to get. And it kind of, like Phillips with two L's, kind of reminded me of those silly little sort of Freudian and slips that you do as a kid when you're spelling stuff.
Yeah. And Scotch is whiskey, isn't it?
Scott, yeah, that's it. Yeah. Where were we? We're doing news, weren't we? Jeez, did we go off the track?
Off the Polyane track. Yeah.
Off
Good
the
track.
Polyane track, yes.
Oh, the police.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Sorry.
I like that one, Ian. That was good. You did well.
Thank you. It's all downhill from now on, mate.
Why don't we have a little look at the video before we start talking about this? What is this? What is this indeed? Well, there it is. So I'll just quickly go back to the graphic. This is the Mixer by Noise Engineering. They're a great bunch of people, by the way. If you ever follow them on social media, they're really, really active. They make great articles. They don't just talk about their products. They do actually really, really cool tutorials. In fact, the other day I was actually reading one of their tutorials on ring modulation, which I thought was actually really nice. When I was Googling some ring mod stuff. And I thought, oh, these guys have written an article on it. Let's see how well they did. And they did really well. I was actually quite impressed. From a beginner point of view, it was perfect. But anyway, this is a 10 channel, even though it shows 8. So it shows 8. It's a 10 channel stereo mixer. Why is it 10 channels? Because you've got the 2 A and B return, stereo mix returns that you can see up the top right-hand corner. And then you've got your mutes on them. Now, a couple of things that I will sort of mention about this before we go into you guys talking about it. It's all MIDI controllable through a MIDI connection. Also, it's CV controllable. There's an expander module, which I haven't got a graphic for, but I can bring it up on their website in a sec. So you can get this CV expander module and you can control a whole bunch of things via CV. But what you can't control via CV, as Wagoo correctly says here, there is no CV over pan, which I think was pretty big oversight, and I don't know if they're going to be able to fix that with firmware. Maybe, I'm not sure. But the other thing that I thought they missed the beat on with this is the fact that you can't actually have digital output and multi-track this into your DAW. So there's a lot of digital stuff in this mixer. So there's digital MIDI control, there's digital MIDI manipulation of effects and of the channels. It's kind of like you've got like you select the channel with those little black buttons. I'll show you again. You got those little black buttons across the top of the pots. You select that and the information comes up on the screen about that channel, and you can adjust the sends and a whole bunch of stuff that's in there. So it's kind of a little menu divey in that sense, but that saves space, obviously, with the module. I think it's 34 HP, by the way. Price, we are looking at quite a bit. I think it's $9.99, if I remember rightly. Did I get that right? I did. $9.99, and I think it's an extra $50 if you want the expander.
That was enough for Ian. $9.99.
$9.99.
He's gone.
He's
That's it. I'm out.
Wait till it's half price like the tracker.
Well,
let's get.
We'll be waiting a while.
Let's get the website.
Elevator Sounds are doing that, and the expander bundled. Let's have a look.
Yeah,
at
the manufacturer does the bundling.
Yeah,
So
it's $9.89 from Elevator Sounds with the expander. Yep, it's pricey.
There is the expander module there, by the way, down the bottom.
Yep.
So it's 1051, and there's two versions. There's obviously a silver version, which you saw in the video, and a black version. Yeah, and they're shipping now, basically. So yeah, I just think, guys, you should have done a digital out on that, and it would have just been killer. That mixer that would have made it worth the dollars, I would have thought.
Do you suspect there's going to be a digital expander module as well, which will do that?
I do.
I bet there's ports on the back. You can plug it in, and that will chuck out over USB.
Yeah.
Your audio.
Yeah, just like my Hex Mix expander, they always had future proofing on it. They had all these kind of extra goodies you can plug into it. So
I had a dead good look at this because it seems to solve so many problems, but I couldn't get my head around auxiliary sends. How many effect sends are there? How do you do it? And the other thing which really narked me at that price was those little toggle mute switches. Now my mixer on the bottom left on the modular here, that has these little toggle switches for mute and channel on and channel Q, 3 positions. And whilst they're perfectly usable, it would be much, much better if you got momentary switches. Just a switch that you can hit rather than having to, because they're much harder to control. And I'd have thought, £1,000, little momentary buttons would have been better from my point of view.
I love that on the Hex
Latching
Mix.
or
They
not
have that.
latching
And
is
even
better.
Ben worked with Bafako, Ben DivKid, for his module, and made the same rocker switches where one direction it locks, one direction off and neutral, and the other direction it's a momentary.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great. I love that.
But one thing that was also really important from Ben is that those switches didn't make a clicky sound or a electric zap sound either.
Yeah.
Apparently
it does
these ones
say
are
that
the
they're
same.
not clicking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say the same for these ones because they're a lot cheaper. I was actually just meaning like a mute button on a mixer. So you press it.
A toggle.
Yeah, that to me, I know the idea
push
of
on, push
holding
off.
it and then releasing is probably reasonable, but it's actually it's the physicality of the toggle switch which I'm talking about in terms of being able to mute and unmute multiple things at once. Now, Happy Nerding do a module which has got four mute switches in it. So Minor Melodies did a
But
really
it's
good
push
video
button, so
on
you
that
have to do that
music
double
music.
push, right? Which is actually takes longer than the quick toggle.
Well, then you got to hold it, and
No, I thought they were momentary.
it's a
Andy said.
niggly point. It's a niggly point.
It is a niggly point, but
I
I think it's valid, Andy. I do. I think it's valid. I agree. I would have liked to have seen the 3-way one that Andy was saying. So you had one that you could switch up, and then you had the bottom one where you could pull down and it flicks back up.
It's really great.
Yeah.
Can I address another point? Pat Brady in the chat's just said, does the expander not handle pan? Now, again,
Correct,
I have a
it
question
doesn't.
mark about that.
It's just CV.
It's strange because those are 8 addressable CV ins. And why would you not have it addressing the pan parameter? That would seem an almost essential one.
Well, I had to think about this because when Guru mentioned it like about 5 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago in chat, I had to think about it when he said it, and I think the reason for it is because every channel is a stereo channel, right? So you actually do have left and right coming in. So what are you panning? Yeah, it's like you're saying.
Mono channel.
That's it. So it's probably just a trick thing that they need to get their heads around with the way that's plumbed electronically. I mean, technically, this is a 20 input mixer, a 20 channel input mixer.
Yeah.
When you look at it that way, it's pretty hefty. Yeah, I don't know if it was me. I mean, I've got plenty of mixers now here, so I'm good. But the switches that I've got on my feedback module are switches as well, Brooksy, and they are literally flick switches. You know, like the noise engineering one. I don't use them like they did in that performance. I never use them like that. I'm more just I use it just to turn a channel on and off, and that's pretty much how I use it. But
I use it as a performance thing. I always have done. Mute button performance all the time. Bring it, you know. And the Tesseract's actually quite handy because you can set one of them to Q, so you can actually hear something before you bring it in and that sort of thing. But I'm sure you can on that too. Has that got Q? I
just don't know if you can really sort of. It's really stiff. Like I don't know if you can run your finger like around that. It's kind of
they're quite close to the knobs, aren't they? On that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's probably why I don't.
It would loosen with use.
Probably put a bit of something in there, and it would free up a bit.
Pat Brady's just saying he's checked the manual, and the inputs on the expander can be set to volume, mute, pan, send A, and send B. So maybe it can do it.
Well done, Pat. But that's the expander, right? Yeah.
You need to have the expander.
You need to have the expander.
I mean, if you go into Elevator Sounds, they're selling it as a package.
Well, you might as well. I mean, why would you not get it without the expander? To me, it's a no-brainer. Yeah. Go.
I have a question.
Shoot.
I failed to research this sufficiently. That pan button on the front of the panel, what does that single one knob do? Is it for the selected channels pan?
Yeah.
Well, that means there's nothing stopping them from controlling it over MIDI. It'll be a firmware update, I reckon.
Or
well, probably CV. Yeah, it could be voltage only controlled. That might be the problem, right?
Yeah,
who knows?
But
we probably need
more.
Stop
it from being.
We probably need some more people to get their hands on this thing and try it out. We should move on to the next. It's not really for me because I'm already mixed it out. I think if it had digital channels on it, I'd probably scratch my beard a bit more. But like Brooksy said, maybe they're going to bring a module out to expand it. Who knows?
Can I just announce that I have just bought the Polyend tracker.
Oh, jeez.
Well done.
Actually, if you're going to do it, be careful because most places in the UK do not have it.
Right.
So Elevator Sound don't have it. Gear for Music, it's too expensive. Although they may drop the price. I've just bought it from Signal Sounds. So and they have got stock, but don't know how many they've got.
Interesting.
So if you're gonna buy it,
I think
be quick about it.
I think there might be a lot of stock in the US. I've got a feeling Perfect Circuit might have a bag full of them. So
probably yeah.
I saw something out Perfect Circuit. Yeah.
I only bought one thing from Signal Sounds because they charge shipping on everything. So
yeah, actually in the UK it's free shipping, luckily. But
not. That's the
but
problem.
you're in the States, so
yeah. It's like if we buy something from
Toman,
the States, it's
yeah.
But Toman.
Actually, Toman are doing free shipping to the UK, but they don't have it either. They still have it in 10 days.
I wish they would do free shipping to Australia because I would buy a shite load of stuff from them.
Yeah.
I really would.
But you're at the bottom of the world.
I know, but they can just chuck it on a crate and just push it off. It'll get here eventually.
Ranzee, you ever bought stuff from Japan? Because I get stuff from Japan sometimes with free shipping, which is weird, but it's cool.
Sometimes, but yeah. But Darren, it will probably bump into my CD that I sent you. It's probably still floating around.
Exactly.
That's only about 4 years ago.
I know.
It's probably in Madagascar.
No, it's on a palm beach somewhere in a deck chair with glasses on it, just chilling out.
Madagascar.
Tom Hanks is there, and he's like, I've got a CD, but I've got nothing to play it on.
It's like the Coke bottle and God Must Be Crazy. Some guy's looking at it like, what is this thing? We'll have to pray to it.
All right, what's next? That was another photo. Yay! This I thought this would be interesting because, especially with Brooksy, the Bafaco. This is called the trolley bus, and I really thought this was quite interesting actually. $249 US for this thing. It's not just the. If you're wondering what this is because you're not into eurorack, this is a eurorack product. I'm sorry, it's not a synthy like thing.
So I just got to sleep.
All right, Robbie's in France.
Stop slapping
It's going like
the
this.
screen.
And it's
Well, I'm sort
And
of
worse than that, still it's-
because I'm
it's
not
only
a full-on
power.
modular hard, not like
But-
you've all become.
What is good about this is, I mean, those buses aren't cheap anyway. I mean, this is probably on the pricey side anyway. But listen, if you've got a case, right, the whole point of this product is if you've already got a case and you've run out of power in that case, because so let's say you went ballistic with 2 HP modules or something like that, right? And you've got no more power slots in there, or you've run out of amperage or whatever. This thing is a 5 amp power solution, and it's got 28 slots, so it's a pretty beefy thing. And also the module itself, you can see it in that little white graphic up the top there. So that sits inside your module, and then that plugs in to a DC,
28.
wall wart type thing, and there you go. It's all good, and you can just shove that underneath somewhere.
Some USB sockets on it as well.
Yeah, to charge your mobile phone while you're playing on your
So
eurorack.
funny thing about that, since I just replaced the one in one of my IntelliGel cases that was
Yep.
an older, crappy one. Most people don't use the full juice of the bus board.
Correct.
So you may run out of ports, but you can use those flying bus cables off
Yeah.
the same port and power a whole bunch of stuff off of there, which is what I had to do because IntelliGel won't sell the one with more slots. They only reserve them for their cases, but I wanted to replace one of my case, so I had to buy what looks like the small one. But I just had flying bus cables all over the damn place, and I had way more than I could need to plug in because it's a juicy board, So you don't necessarily have to buy, slot for slot, especially when you get a lot of 2 HP modules and stuff that fills up your damn slots really fast. Just get a bunch of flying bus cables, and you can split off all kinds of stuff as long as you've done the math on your power, either through modular grid or whatever, however you want to calculate it. Most people aren't using more than half the damn power in the bus board.
Yeah, that's a good point. But this product is definitely for people who have run out of their power.
Oh yeah, if you run out of
consumptions.
juice, you need something like that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
The people who are building a big case and need a beefy power supply. I mean, I looked at this when I was looking at what I was going to do for power supplies, and I just thought it was too pricey and a bit overkill for my needs. That's why I just went for the tip top Zeus Zeus power supply with, as Andy said, flying bus cables, and I bought a flying bus cable with 16 sockets on it, as well as the ones that are already there, and it works absolutely fine. Although it can be a bit of a fiddle faddle plugging the bloody things into these flying
And
bus
pulling them
cables.
out. And pulling them out.
And pulling them out.
Yeah.
You want
need
to take
two
out one
hands.
module and you find,
you need two
yeah.
hands.
You need 2 hands. You need to have
I
8
can't
hands.
stand
you make
them.
me feel
Sorry.
you make me feel so ashamed.
The cables get
because
all
I've only
twisted
got
around
3
inside.
Oh yeah.
You just need to screw them down to the back of something. I don't know, a piece of wood or something. That could work.
That there, they have a flying bus cable in the back of that. In fact, you might.
And the nifty, right? Yeah.
But I wonder if I can get the camera in there. Maybe. I'll try and get the camera in
Will
there.
it fit?
I'll try and get the camera
Belly
in there for you
cam.
guys.
Will it fit?
But they've like I don't know if it's like zip tied it down onto the bottom of the case, so it doesn't move. So it's still
That's
a
what I
flying bus
thinking.
cable. But I want to show you because I think you guys could use that as an idea.
Yeah,
let
that's a
me
good idea.
let me move the camera in and I'll show you guys because I definitely
You
think
could make it
it's a
some
cool
little.
thing.
Someone could design some little 3D brackets as well. You could screw them to the back of something, but of course then you have to draw holes, and people don't want to draw holes and blah blah
Yeah,
blah blah.
or just epoxy if you don't want a one-way ticket. So
Oh, that's
It's going way overkill, Andy. Epoxy. Wow.
cases, well, those nifty cases are cheap, so if you get mad, just throw it out.
That's nifty keys. That's not cheap.
I thought it was still pretty cheap, isn't it? Comparatively.
It's not bad. You know.
500, I suppose. You get a keyboard and a...
Cheaper than the damn one it replaced, the Waldorf one.
There you guys, can you see that? See that? You can see on the right-hand side there's like a plastic, I don't know
Keeper.
what you call that. Like
It's like a cable keeper.
Like a cable keeper, and that's
Like
maybe glued or screwed to the bottom of the case.
Oh, yeah.
it may even just be pushed through on little pins, actually, that go
Yeah.
through some holes that are matching on the other side.
And that, my friends, is a really, really good little thing that you can do with flying bus cables. So you don't have to buy those expensive bus boards.
Bus boards.
And that keeps the price of your nifty case down. Yeah. Yeah, anyway, we should move on.
But then you miss out on the joy of...
Someone will find that little plastic thing and say, here it is, and you can get it on Amazon for like 50 cents for a bag of 600.
That's exactly right.
Yep. Okay, we shall move. Keep moving. Yeah, I showed that, didn't I? So I thought that was handy with the USB as well. Because don't forget, your bus board does have 3 voltage points on them. They have a plus 12, a minus 12, and a 5 volt. And that 5 volt is actually rarely used in a lot of modules, by the way. And so there's literally 5 volts floating around on these Eurorack bus boards doing nothing. And it's still pulling the power from your illustrious...
If you have a 1 euro, you can add the USB little bricks really cheap to that. So.
What about this? We talked about this a few times, but finally they have released it. And I do not have a problem with Behringer releasing this at all. Absolutely.
No.
So, you guys seen this, haven't you?
Expander.
Yep.
Let's go.
I don't even have to say that. He can say that instead. Yes. I'm actually really, really happy that someone has remade this in a relatively decent way. The Cobol was, in my opinion, was a synth that was a little bit of a unicorn synth when you think of it, because you hear a lot about it in stories like, this is on Jean-Michel Jarre's Magnetic Fuels album, and it does that really cool bass line in a couple of the tracks, and you think, I can't get one of those synths. And some of the sounds out of it are pretty standard. Like if you listen to this thing, it can sound like a mini Moog, right? Yeah. Because it was labelled or dubbed the French mini Moog.
French mini Moog, yeah.
So what I would say to people is, if you do go and buy this, probably the first thing that you'll say is, this just sounds like a mini Moog. And you're going to sort of go, is it really that good? The answer to that question is, if you muck around with the things that make it unique, and that is the filter is different, and the controllable waveform morphing on it is different. So if you use those features of it, it will sound different. It won't sound like a mini Moog. And that's where it's, that's where the uniqueness comes out, where you get those cool sort of crunchy, weird sort of oscillator sounds. I mean, you may even be able to do like a seesaw in this, like the Yamaha CS80 seesaw, if you're molding between a square pulse wave and a sawtooth, because it's literally the next thing on the dial. If you have, go back and have a look at that graphic. Look at the waveforms: pulse wave, sawtooth next to each other. Yeah. You may be able to do a seesaw. Yeah, chuck it in Eurorack if you want. Yep, it's one of those standard
add anything,
desktops.
or they just recreate it mostly?
That's a damn good question. Anyone know the answer to that? I don't know.
I'm just looking.
Did it?
Because they normally just recreate stuff, or maybe add effects to it. But.
Well, question I'm asking is, are the patch points
You muted
unique?
Andy.
Because
Are the patch points unique? So
Yes, to the Behringer. Are the patch points
And
unique
the
to the
muted.
Behringer? I did.
Brooksy, you're muted, mate.
Sorry. The patch points make it properly semi-modular, and really makes it worthwhile to stick in a eurorack. I have just checked on Tourman, and they're saying available in several months. So if it's not available yet from Tourman, it
October
probably
or
means
something,
waiting.
I think.
Well, it's
Yeah.
probably loading into
I
a
heard
pallet.
October.
It's
I
loading
heard
into a
October.
pallet in China, I would say. Let's look at these patch plates, because there's a lot of them, isn't there? Across the top
Sorry,
and down
folks,
the
I was
bottom.
muted.
Yeah.
That's fine, guys.
Lots. Way more
there
than
is a
Pro
lot.
One.
Yeah. But don't forget, this is the expander. So they did model this after the expander. And I do believe the expander
That's
had
why I
quite a lot of CV
wondered.
connectivity.
Yeah, that's what I wondered. Again, being a unicorn instrument, it's a bit hard to find out hardcore details.
Correct. It was only about 200 or something of the original Cobalts made or something, wasn't there? So, because that company just was like a small garage company from...
I've got 800 in my head. Of the keyboard, of the RSF Cobalt keyboard, there were only 35.
The expander might have
made.
been 800, but the original Cobalt...
Cobalt keyboards, yeah.
it was small.
Very rare.
Yep.
Very rare.
And of course, Xils-labs has a VST if you want to use the sounds.
Yeah, Xils-labs is not bad too. Jeez, I tell you what, if you get the Xils-lab, have a listen to the square wave on that and plug your monitors in. If you've got one of those monitors that have got the sub, I've got the Yamaha with the sub. Oh, it shatters windows. It is a really nice square wave sound. It's got some sort of fuzz to it that just really talks to subwoofers. It's really cool. And I wonder if the Cobalt will actually do the same. Yeah, let's
Sounded
pop some
pretty
subs.
neat.
I'm not sure not sure my neighbours are patient enough for a subwoofer.
Yeah.
I quite like the fact it's got a 3.35 millimeter TS output on the back and a 3.5 mil top panel output as well. It's quite useful.
Because you can take it out and stick it in your Eurorack and have the audio out.
A lot of the
They all
Behringer
have
gear
that.
have got this. Yep.
The D has it. The Pro One has it as well.
Yeah, a lot of the Behringer gear has that. It's kind of a standard thing with their stuff.
I can't see anything different. It has got USB, but that's all.
Yeah, and it is a mono synth too. So just making that clear, because people are asking, is this stereo? Is this not stereo? Is this poly? No, it's mono. And it's mono, and as in not stereo either. So mono in both respects.
Yeah.
Mono.
So is that thing behind me?
I wouldn't mind this. I actually, I've always
It's
lusted
on the
after
get
one.
list.
Look, they're going to be making quite a lot of these sort of things, so because they promised that they would. So they've still got quite a lot to go. They've got the VCS 3 to go. They've got the CS80 to go. I think they're pretty close to doing that Oberheim
Have you seen the
one.
price?
Yeah, the Oberheim.
$199.
179. Well, yeah. So 179. It's got here
Yep.
from Anderton's. That's
That's a steal. It's a steal.
Absolute steal.
Yeah.
So
It'll be
340, I think.
Yeah,
here in
340
Australia.
from the Manny's store DJ people.
Incredible. I don't know how they're doing it.
Really, really tempting.
Yeah, it's really cheap. Like $340 bucks Australian is,
Bucket load of them.
just a bit more than a fuel tank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, him again.
Incredible.
Him again's on.
Oh.
Oh, he wants to
Who let him in?
Hang on.
He
Oh
wants
no,
to
this
talk
is
about
a
mute.
group, isn't it? This is
Hello, mate.
Hello, Ken.
Hello.
yes,
Not
this
sure.
isn't the Mustang owners group. What's going on?
Hey, missing more tiles now.
Demo. Yeah. Who had H7? They win a
No, that
prize.
was me. That was me.
Is it you?
It was
Okay.
me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you win what I ate yesterday.
That's E1.
Oh, go get rid of it somehow.
Yeah.
No,
In the vomit
I've
bucket.
listened to some of the additional demos that I found about this new Cobalt thing, and actually it's very, very close to the original. Very, very close indeed. Weirdly enough, I've had a couple of the keyboard versions of the Cobalt come through. One of them needed extensive work. Well, actually, no, that's not true. they all need extensive work. Because like I said on Presonus last night, the Cobalts are awful inside.
Yeah.
Beautiful sounding, but awfully.
Was it a Pratt Reed keyboard?
I'm trying to remember now. Yeah, I think it was. It was old enough anyway, definitely. The keyboards, I think, if I remember rightly, it was more. I think it was more like the Pro One's keyboard than say a Mini Moog's Pratt Reed keyboard, but it was just so badly done, and everything on the synth was badly done, honestly. So I welcome this new reissue. Definitely fancy.
I just used to always like completely salivate over that morphable wave switch. That morphable wave switch was like, I was like, because in the early days, you look at that and you think, no other synth has got that. Why have not anyone else done this? And I've always wondered electronically, how the hell did they do it? Have they done some sort of mixing wizardry with the waveforms? How have they done that? Because it's pretty.
Look at the Behringer Neutron. You have that continuous turn.
I mean, we're talking about when the Cobalt was a thing of the 80s. Not the Neutron's only a recent thing. So back in the day,
if memory serves, it's something like a quad, a constantly open quad op amp.
Yeah,
you could like work between, so it acted like a miniature mixer, if you like. But yeah, I mean, no, it was a lovely, as you said earlier, about it's all about that filter.
Yeah, the filter's unique, isn't it? What do you like about the filter?
Oh, it's just so squelchy and punchy, but it's also got that warmness. That how do you put it? That SSM warmth to it. So it's rich and round, but it can still punch it straight in the tatties and fold you over. It's very, very powerful still.
Does it get nasty like an MS-20?
If I remember rightly, not as much.
Yeah.
Because there's always got to be that trade-off that the warmer and rounder it's going to be, it's harder to go into the sharp, harsh.
Yeah, it more saturates.
Occupied by.
Yeah, it's more of a saturating filter. Yeah.
Yeah. But while I'm here, I've got a Behringer Rant for you.
Go.
I've just got an email from Thoman about this System 55 I'm supposed to be getting in about 2 weeks' time.
Yay.
And I'm going, look, yeah, sorry, looks like it's going to be more like November.
Oh.
What?
Interesting.
Yeah. Suddenly it's gone from...
this year or 2024?
Yeah, well, hopefully still this year. But they're going, yeah, it's gone from 7 to 9 weeks now. I go, well, you wait 14 days before I'm supposed to get it. Tell me.
There's one in Australia.
Is there?
Yeah.
It might be quicker for me to walk there and go and get it.
Yeah. It literally, it's in a place called
Weather's
DJ
better.
City. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get one in
Get
Australia.
your snorkels.
Well, we waited 4
Scuba
years
gear.
for an Osmo, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, true enough. It's just that I was this weekend was going to had a bit of change around that I wanted to do. I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll make space for this puppy that's coming into it. So I'm glad I haven't started that. Otherwise, I'd be really, really pissed off. So,
Are they doing?
yes.
Are they doing that in the Behringer Go case? Aren't they? So that's how they're shipping it.
Yes.
They're using the Behringer.
Yeah.
So is it one Behringer Go case or two Behringer Go cases? Like
I think it's
Scissored.
two biggies.
yeah, and they're giving
two big
you
ones, yeah.
the mounting thing to put them together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't get that
But
mounting thing anywhere
unfortunately-
else. I love it.
Yeah, but unfortunately,
Sorry.
they've left that bottom row clear. And as I was telling Andy, when it was over, and I've been shopping. Yeah, I go, oh, the brain looks good. Oh, I like that. Oh, that random sequencer cloud generator, sign your mail for you type module. And go, yeah.
I had absolutely no influence on this whatsoever, you lot.
Yes, you
Before you
did.
even start.
You did.
Yeah, you did. Like,
Did.
oh
You did.
yeah.
Like you did.
Yeah, yeah.
You did that album. You released that album. I've been listening to that album regularly in the workshop, and I'm going.
But it's
wow,
that open
stuff you can
space. It's
do with
inviting.
Eurorack.
Buy. Right. So
Yeah, well,
It's just been able
It's
to
not
hear all
all-
those interesting
it's
things
not
that you
all
can
you.
do.
There are three people that Andy Brooks wants to actually get onto Eurorack. One is Kent, one is me, and one is Robbie.
I never mentioned Kent. No. Jim Glue.
Actually, you didn't.
Yeah, he did say Jim Glue. I will,
Yeah, he did,
I will
yeah,
back
yeah.
him up.
Yeah.
He did say Jim
That's
Glue.
all right,
I've got
Andy.
no
I
ch-
was
I've got no ch-
freebie.
You're freebie. Yeah,
I'm the freebie.
I've got no chance with either Jim or Ian, and even less chance with Robbie.
Hey, Kent, before you chuff off,
Yes, darling.
I am going to ping you about something offline. So I'm going to be... you will like what I'm going to be pinging you about. So I just thought I'd give you a heads
It's
up.
not about that growth, is it?
It might be, mate.
rash.
It might
It's
be.
a rash he has.
Look, we've discussed that. We've discussed that. It had nothing to do with me.
It'll be old men medical talk. No, talking about
yeah. Oh, and it does. It hurts when I do that. And all. Yeah.
yeah. It hurts when the wife
Okay,
shouts.
yeah, no problem, mate.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Awesome.
All right, well, I'll let you get on back
No,
with the...
You're welcome to stay if
Before I
you want, of course. But if you're busy, I understand.
Yeah, no, I've got a couple of things that I have to do because they phoned up
Right.
and asked if they were ready.
Well, it's nice catching you, mate, and I'm glad you're
See
back
you in the
healthy
pub,
again.
Kent.
Thanks
Yeah.
for jumping in, Kent.
See you,
We
Ken.
may, oh, by the way, we may be joined by David tonight as well.
Oh, cool.
David Arnold.
Okay, cool. Looking forward to it.
So that
nice.
might be interesting. We let him lead.
A gauntlet thrown down.
Yep. Now,
Yeah.
if you guys are wondering what Kent is talking about, he has his own live stream, which is what time at Kent again? Remind me.
No, anything from sometimes 7, sometimes 8.
UK time. Yep.
Sometimes it finishes at midnight. Sometimes
When Ranzee is snoring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if Synth is particularly wide awake, it can go on until the wee.
I have noticed that.
Oh, yeah.
I have woken up on a Sunday morning and gone,
Yeah.
you guys are still at
Still
this.
Yeah.
A 12-hour
Yeah.
stream sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll just go, all right, guys, I'll just let you get on with it now. I've got to go to bed. No,
All right, mate.
And just let it carry on.
Yeah. I mean, I think the last time I jumped on a Sunday morning, I had to chuff off to take the kids to soccer, but I was chatting to you guys for about an hour. It was awesome. And I was like, I did a stream, went to bed, woke up, and I was on another stream. It was kind of literally like surreal.
Madness. Absolute madness. All right,
It is.
I'll let you get on anyway.
All right, guys, and I'll talk to you
See
later,
you
Kent,
later.
too.
Yeah.
Cheers, Ken.
Take care.
Bye,
Look
mate.
after yourselves.
See you, mate.
Bye.
See you guys. Right, awesome. Now, where were we talking about? We're talking about this COBOL thing. We looked at the rear end of it. You know, Googled that a bit. Right, next. This. Electro Technique. We have talked about these guys a while ago. This guy did another sort of boutique-y type, teensy sort of based product synth. And I think he's based in Korea, this bloke. But this is actually a poly synth. I forget how many channels poly it is. I'll read that in a sec. But you're looking at 199 to 285 US, depending on whether you want it fully built or you want it in pieces like that and build it yourself. So,
That's a
but
job for me.
yeah, but what's really, really cool is this time he's actually been proactive and he's given us a little demo.
Oh, good.
Come on, play. Play, you good thing. There we go. Indeed, ceilings below. It is on. It is on a, what do they call it? Website. What's it called again? I forget now. Tindy. It's a Tindy website. I'm always a bit funny about these Tindy websites.
Oh,
but
Tindy. Yeah, I've seen that before.
yeah. So this is what it
They have
looks
lots of
like.
cool projects on there.
Yeah. $199 for the kit, or so you can get a kit without the Teensy micro mod or the micro SD, or you can get the Teensy kit with the SD and the micro mod, or you can get it fully built. He's only got 2 of those left, fully built, and he's only got 3 without the Teensy. The thing that interested me, I guess, mostly about this is like, I don't know if you guys know much about the Teensy microprocessor controller. It's amazing how much you can get out of that little thing. It's like, it actually, in a way, it worries me how this guy is able to get a 12-voice digital polysynth with a whole bunch of MIDI UI, arpeggiator, screen driving, going nuts. I think it is like he's probably literally working this thing little pants off, teensy. But anyway, I think it's dirt cheap, $285 US for a 12-voice polysynth that fits in the side of your hand. Darren, this would be something that you'd like, I'm sure. Stuff like this.
Parkbench compatible.
Parkbench compatible.
Is it battery operated? No, I don't think
USB powered, so you could put a little
power bank.
You know,
well, it's not too bad
Power
because
bank,
you put a power bank in your pocket.
Yep.
I think it sounds great. It looks great. My only concern is the output looks very flimsy.
Yeah, it's
That's
not
the
the
only
best.
thing.
It's not the best in terms of audio quality. It's 44.1, so it's CD quality, and it's only 16-bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. It looked a bit flimsy. A little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I was gonna say
Daniel,
what Ian
remember
said.
when we thought that was pristine quality, though? We used to think that was
Yeah.
pristine quality.
That's what you're
16-bit.
talking
Yeah, but
about, isn't
why-
it,
why-
Ian?
Yeah. Where it says audio, there's a little.
It's all sort of
Yeah,
exposed
that-
there.
Why is that like
Why is
that?
there a funny cutout?
It's a bit weird, isn't it? Maybe it's because it didn't fit. I'm not sure. He couldn't fit the actual socket in that spot. Like
Yeah,
it's
actually
too big
looking
for
at
it.
it where
That's
it's
an
up, it
interesting
might
idea.
just be. Yeah, but you could. I'm sure you could.
Just make the case a bit taller, surely.
Yeah.
I mean, what would have been hard about
Sometimes it's difficult to get the switch gear to work correctly when you adjust the height. From someone who knows.
Could be.
Sometimes you could move the panel forward, and that's great for one component, but then these components, the switches start falling off and they won't stay on. You end up introducing other problems.
It does have SD card storage. What am I saying? USB storage. SD card storage. So you can actually store patches and stuff on it. But internally, you can actually have 8 user banks with 128 patch recallable by MIDI, which is heaps. And then on top of that, you've got 128 performance memories. And there's that step sequencer, which you saw, which I thought looked pretty cool, with 64 steps and 128 memories for the sequencer. The arpeggiator I thought was good. And you've also got a little poly keyboard thing that you can use, which was a bit...
Even has a nice color screen like the Noodler has, which is also teensy. So.
You know, I think this will
Is it
just about sell
multi-timbral,
out.
Ranzee?
Sorry? I didn't get that.
Is it multi-timbral?
It doesn't say so. It just says it's 12-voice polyphony. It doesn't say anything about multi-timbral in his documentation. And I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't, because you're looking at those teeny microcontrollers. They're not that super powerful. Like this is probably pushing it to its limits, I would say. But yeah, anyone in the chat? What are they saying in the chat? Usually, some people in the chat have some decent knowledge about these things. Yeah, which teensy is it? That's a good question. It doesn't actually say. But this guy does have some specs, and he does have some source code. So if you go to that, the link of all of this stuff, the link will be in the blog article in the next day or so, and you can go check it out. But this guy's got the source code, he's got documentation. So technically, you could probably build this yourself without anyone needing any, without, you get the parts through Miser or whatever and build this thing yourself if you're into that. Like what Chris is into. He's into this sort of stuff. So, Chris, you probably looked at the circuit board and thought, oh, God, you could have left me the SMD to do for me.
Oh, you know how much I love SMD. I'm a traditionalist.
Yeah.
I can do SMD.
This was me doing SMD.
Yeah, well, yeah. You should see how many levels of magnification I put on, which is like down to a binocular or telescope level by the time it's sitting off.
That is literally why I bought that. Oh, no, you can't see it. It's literally in that
Microscope.
corner there.
Yeah.
That's why I got that camera a few years back now, because I was doing SMC stuff. But yeah, big thank you to David, of course, sending through the $4.99 teensy. Thank you for a great show. It is a bit teensy, but mate, I much appreciate it. Don't worry about that. And hey, so far you're the Lone Ranger in that department, so much appreciated, of course. Yeah. So does anyone want to buy this? Oops, sorry, Mike.
Not for me.
Nope.
I like it. I like the sound of it, but there's other things that will do similar sort of sounds, I think. But it's not for me.
We're
But
good
it's
saying
cheap.
maybe. Yeah. It is cheap. I am drastically worried about its pure capabilities pushing that CPU. I just don't think a 12 voice polysynth. I mean, it's 44.1K. I can see where there's some, you're sort of giving away
efficiencies.
I can see. So you guys are going to be saying, does it sound good? Well, 44.1K, most people would probably be relatively happy with that because it's CD quality, right? CD quality is not bad. But we're so spoiled these days. Everything's 96 or even higher, right? We're so spoiled. When you guys do your recordings, what do you record in? Do you record in 96 or 48? What are you recording in mainly these days? 48? So 48 is considered
48,
vinyl.
24-bit.
Yeah. That's considered
24,
vinyl.
48, 24-bit, yeah.
And 96 is considered, to be safe because you can drop to 48 without losing any bits. So 44.1, I feel it's just probably lacking in that sense. That's kind of where I'm going with that. Yeah.
Well, that depends on where you put it. If you put it in a track in mixes and things, I don't know. And
I have a room full of 44.1, so
start-
I'm not going to complain about that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think if you're finishing off a project in 40 and 48, you should be careful when to dither. Really, that's all.
I just did it about running enemy projects.
I expected that from you, Darren.
I can't remember what the Polyand tracker was in terms of it's in the manual. You guys could probably check it out. But it wasn't the best. Like,
Oh, don't tell me that now. I've bought one.
but what I'm saying, it's not 96. I don't think it's 96.
As he looks at his screen, purchase. Thank you very much.
Hang on.
Cancel.
Cancel.
No, but I mean, it's not like 96 or something really
No,
high.
I wouldn't expect it to be.
It's probably 48 if I remember rightly.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, and you can bring samples in at a higher rate too, and you can bring them in a lower rate. You don't really need to worry about the old-fashioned thing where you bring a mono sample in and pitch it up, to try and save space and stuff like that. You don't have to do. Brooksy does though with his W30. They're the old tricks that he had to do for that.
Isn't that part of the charm?
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely, and 30 seconds maximum sampling time, and actually, even then, it's a 15-second maximum sample length. So you could have two, and I used to, and quite a lot of the time, the smallest sample size you can have is 0.4 seconds. So that was always the small, if I could get away with it, 0.4 seconds, what I'd do. And I often used to sample waveforms off the analog synths, which will absolutely do, because you've got enough there for full cycle waveforms. And then then loop those because they would loop easily, and then use the internal synthesis functions of the W30 to create other sounds. Got absolutely loads of those. But yeah, drum loops always never more than a bar sort of thing. But yeah, you really had to. But I did end up buying an S550 to expand it for live use, so that I didn't have to keep reloading discs. But yeah. So yeah, memory. Who needs more than a megabyte? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
1.44 if you could squeeze the life out of your little floppies you got there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Squeeze the 1.44 out of that floppy. I don't even think the 1.44 is actually because there's usually some sort of sector, and I don't think you'll ever get
overhead.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So chatties, they were kind of saying similar stuff. Yeah, they were worried about the quality of the sound, but look, it's a cute little project. Yeah, some people can spend $200 on a cute little project, and other people will go, "No, I'm not spending that sort of money on a cute little project." Speaking of cute little projects, what about we look at Price Watch?
Hey.
Got some good ones this week. Have I got some good ones? The answer is absolutely. Starting with this little sucker. How are these getting to this sort of value? This is like a bit over £2,000.
Because Bob signed it.
I think it's because Bob signed it. Two of the ones that I sold, Bob had signed. And I guarantee he didn't sign them. But I want to get an effector. That's what I want to get. Can I get an effector? Because that sounds really cool. It's like, Optimus Prime is going to deliver it to your doorstep. Here's your effector.
Goes very well with Andy's
$4,000. $4,000 you'd expect Optimus Prime to delivering it. Now let's see if that's actually still live, because I had this auction link primed, and I think it is. Let's get rid of that. We don't need that.
Yes,
it's live, people. Let's click buy now. Wow. Whereabouts is this sucker? This is in...
It says Japan.
It's in Japan.
No, it's in Japan.
Japan.
Yeah.
Big in Japan.
Effector is written twice. Effector. I think I just got it just because it said Effector, and I'm being stupid about it. Right, next. What about this, eh? Dearie me.
Analog systems.
So the Bode frequency shifter, as you guys know, Behringer have been... they've actually released theirs now. You can actually buy it. I think that they haven't quite arrived in stores yet around places, but you definitely can order it and you can buy it. I think Tome might have them in stock. There you go. So yeah some places have them. But $1,250 for... This is a Eurorack module, so this is not even an original, right? Let's have a closer look at it anyway.
Analog systems are always pricey, but
yeah. But this would have been pretty decent. Look at the electronics in that little baby there. They've gone to town on that. Wow. Version 1.1. They've had a couple of cracks at it. Look at that soldering. There's nothing of beauty. And
can't see the photo changing runs.
Yeah.
Why is that not working?
See the auction, yeah.
We just thought
the
you was
auction's
having a
over the
moment
top
there.
of it, I think. Yes, it was. Discovering his inner
There we
electronics.
Go. I don't know what Rod's up to there, but
That's great.
Red. There's even a red line. That does help, but seriously. Wow, it's huge.
it's huge. Look at this. Look at the componentry on
Is
this
it?
thing.
Is it Eurorack or is it 5 years?
It's Eurorack, yeah.
It's like my Steiner Parker filter module from LB. It's this big chunky thing in the back.
Yeah.
Making a big deal about the red, aren't they?
There you go. That's how to plug it in properly.
Yeah. Mate, after spending that sort of money, $1,250 US, you want to plug it in properly.
You would make sure.
Sorry about that. I didn't realise the button didn't work. I thought I pressed it. It's probably because I'm on the old Akai APC Mini, and it's probably starting to wear out. Next. Oh, this thing was interesting. So I've never ever heard of these. These are a clone of the EMS Synthy A.
Synthy A. Clone.
So they've actually done... I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Behringer contacted these guys, because they've actually done the matrix properly on this thing. And this is live on Reverb. There we go. 15 grand. Whoa. Get that into
thank
the pipe.
you.
But they've actually done the matrix on this. And
Does it have the spring inside?
I don't know. You have to look. The Hornet.
There's a reverb section.
See, even look at the frequency knobs. They've even got that that special type of knob which has got the readout. I really love that. It's kind of like
it'll annoy me. What's it called?
Vernier dials.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Vernier.
Oh yeah, the geared.
There's a reverb section there. Look, so
And you can put your lamp on.
Yeah.
It's got a joystick.
I like this.
Stick range.
Me too. Love it. 15 grand. No, thank you.
No, not the price. I'm
I
waiting
wanna
for
know-
Behringer's version.
Probably
I
get
wanna
an
know how many
original for
times-
15 grand.
How many
Yeah, you
times-
probably can. Yeah. I
how many
have
times
played
have
an
they played
original.
Battleship
If
with
it
this?
work.
Come on, people.
Looks like it's got a lovely lid.
I think he's missing some pins. There's
I think
half the pins are
there's-
missing.
There should be some red pins if it's
Yeah.
Sunko's Battleship,
original.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's lost some pins.
There's different resistance. Is
The
it
case is
different
amazing.
resistance?
Look
Yeah,
at that sexy
it is. It's
case.
different resistance.
There's 15,000 photographs of the case.
It looks great.
I think with the case, 15 grand,
Even the
No
case is a
problem.
clone.
no problem. Wait for the Behringer one, because seriously, it'll be like $800.
Yeah.
I do know for a fact that they were. I don't know if you guys follow they've got their own Facebook synth group, and someone asked about what's happening with the VCS3, and they recently answered saying that they are trying to source some mechanical manufacturer to do the pin matrix. That's literally the hold up.
Yep.
At the moment with them, and they want, and obviously when they're saying that, they're probably trying to source the cheapest place that they can get. So that
Because there are other companies doing the pin matrix already. So.
yeah, and I reckon that they've had quotes from these other companies, and they probably haven't been that happy with them. Let's move right along. We've also got this one, an ARP sequencer 1623. Isn't that beautiful?
For that amount.
Yeah, for that amount.
That
I mean,
tickles my
it's
tangerine
lovely.
dream.
Mine too, but no.
Why can't they make a
Not at
Eurorack
that price,
module?
though.
Seriously, a Eurorack module out of this. That would actually be a really cool Eurorack module.
Well,
Right,
Behringer have
that's
done
another
the
one for you.
Korg. Behringer have done the Korg one, the that works with the MS series.
They
So
have?
yeah, when it first came up, I wondered if it was another Behringer clip. But no, I mean, you'd have to be a proper collector to be justifying one of those, because it's a 16-step sequencer.
What has this got that's kind of unique? I don't think there a lot. They've got
Not a right
quantize.
lot.
They've got the quantizing section on the right, which looks pretty interesting. But most sequencers will have a pulse width. What's the FM?
Different gate lengths, yeah.
What's the FM for, people? I'm kind of wondering. See the clock area? You got
Probably,
you got FM.
it's probably the speed of the clock. They sometimes call that an oscillator.
Okay.
But to
Interesting.
modulate the speed of the
ASCII
clock.
style
so it
buttons
gets
like on the
faster and slower.
TR909.
In the chat, what are they saying in the chat? Someone says it in the chat. Nope, no one said it in the chat yet. But yeah, I mean, I would be interested if that was a module of some sort. Have I done? No, I haven't. I've got one more. Yeah. Last but not least, this was sent in by Mr. Froze. He thought this was interesting. Now, if you guys don't know what these are little, sort of upgrade boards that you can plug into various Yamaha synths and products that they made around the late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere around there.
It's in my DX200.
This is a DX board. Yep. So you'd actually have this in your DX200, but that would be wouldn't be removable, Andy. The one that you have exactly.
I think
all
you
the
can. It
componentry.
just doesn't work anymore.
Oh, okay. But you can put these into some of the Yamaha synths to upgrade them. So but Korg did the similar thing with the M3 and the Radius board and things like that. So they were all doing this sort of stuff. £349. Eddie thought that was you're dreaming. So I thought we'd show that. But what I thought we'd do is, while we're talking about it, I thought it was a little good segue. Has anyone got a synth that has got an expansion board in it like that? So there's plenty. There's the Roland stuff with the JV the JV series boards. So Darren's got his hand up. I've got my hand up because I've got an M3 with a Radius board in it. Andy's got his hand up.
Yep.
What you
got
got,
the
Andy?
Radius in my M3. Yeah.
You got a Radius in your M3.
And they got
Darren's-
all the Roland upgrade cards.
Darren's got his
Blue,
XP.
and Sonic MR rack has a bunch of expansion boards in it. Tons of crap.
What were the Insonic ones like? Because I always was interested in those.
They're similar to the Roland ones, little circuits that you just snap down, kind of boxy. And it's funny, they only gave you 3 slots, and there were 4 main ones on the market. One is incredibly rare, but just not worth getting. And I bought some of these stores are so funny. I bought one and go, oh, it's a pretty good price for an MR rack. I got it. I open it up. It's fully populated with all the boards.
Nice.
So it should have been like $1,500. I got it for like $300.
Wow.
So these guys don't care. They just sell used stuff. They don't check.
Yeah.
You're good at finding stuff like that. And I guess it's easier in the States.
I get
because
lucky.
there's a lot of people in the
It
States with
finds
a lot
him.
of gear, right?
Well, especially this one store
No,
where
the
this guy
opposite way.
died
I'd
and
pay
had
it and then
another
open it up
load
and there'd
in
be
his
nothing in
house.
it.
Yeah. I mean, I got my Korg M3 really cheap. So that was about my only ever story where I got something like what you'd done, Andy. So
Is that the expanded one with the touchscreen?
it's the expanded one with the touchscreen, but I bought the Radius board for it later on. I think I paid like $400 Australian for it too. It wasn't cheap. So
I'm still trying to get the keyboard for it because I like the little joystick and the ribbon thing. And there are a few guys online that sell just the key bed part. But
I've got the key bed
So
for mine. It's not currently plugged in, but it's just sitting here as a module at the moment, like yours is, right? So you've got yours like that, but I've actually got the whole keyboard
exactly.
as well. And I don't actually like.
Yeah, because they made room for the Radius actually to fit on. You can actually put them side by side on the key bed.
You could if you had the.
You can't plug them in at once.
Not the 60, not the smaller keyboard. Only the 70 and 80 versions.
76 and 80, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I had the Radius up until a few months ago as well, as you guys might remember. But this has literally got a Radius in it. There's not much difference.
Yeah.
That DX7 board is a bit scammy because you can pay 350 quid and get a real DX7. That's what they're going for over here. So it's just for that board. I know it's not it's
Or
a
get
bit,
TX7
bit scammy
or module.
Wait, well here I'm looking at used eBay Yamaha DX7 Mark 1 345.
Well, you can get Dexed for free on your DAW.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well,
I got the DX7 locally from a guy about $400. So, you can get them pretty cheap.
Yeah. They are. They're nuts.
But I'm pretty sure that you can swap the PLGs over on the little groove boxes that we've got, Andy. So I think you can swap
That's what I mean.
the DX with the
I think
AN.
that's why sometimes they sell them without. They're like, well, why would I buy it without? It's a shell. So
Well, they're exactly the same, other than the name on it. It's a bit like when Korg Electro 2 came out, and you could literally flash the firmware and have the sampler versus
sample
the
versus
Electro.
synth.
Yeah. Cool. I thought that was interesting. So, Eddie, if you're watching this on the replay, mate, good one. Thanks for sending that in. And that was, by the way, people, that was on Discord. See?
Discord.
Get on the Discord, people. Discord is free of all this crazy, scroll past ads all day long. What are you guys putting up with that crap for? Seriously, stay off those platforms. I turn the ads off.
It's funny, I can't get into Discord. I've got an account, but I've just never seem to be able to get. I suppose I have to think about going there. You know what I mean?
I've got the app on my phone, and I've got
right.
the app on my PC, so I don't actually use the browser version. You can use the browser version of it, but it's a pain. So I literally just launched the app.
I think I'm pretty much I signed up, Rans, but I never go there. So apologies to everybody.
No, you don't need to apologise. It's
not for me at the moment.
It's a flavour of wine that you may not like.
Yeah.
You know?
One good reason to use Discord, if you want to use like Mid-Journey, one of those AI art things, they have it embedded in there. So that's one reason to go in there and use it. It's very easy to use.
Right.
Yeah. You could put a mustache on Darren's face.
Yeah.
Well,
They still can't get hands right in there. They
Because
can't
the
the fingers.
people would believe it, Darren. They'd believe it.
In an impressionistic style.
They think that you're sophisticated all of a sudden.
I think we should all have beards.
I think it'll take more than a mustache for that.
Mustache and a monocle. A little.
Yeah, now you're talking.
You should hear what Dave's been saying about you, mate. I'll tell you what.
Don't need to go there.
The little purple fluffy thing's been going a bit crazy lately.
He's been telling me how to do bass.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that's it. We've got through all the segments, and I don't know. During the week, you guys probably would have noticed I put a video up for the Rachel. Been a long time coming.
Very well done, Ron.
Cheers.
Very, very well done.
I
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's good.
Sometimes I like to nerd out on things, and just so anyone who watches it knows, I paid for the Rachel myself. Black Corporation didn't send it to me and ask me to do a review. This is just purely a user going, hey, this is actually pretty cool. I need to share this with people. And so I'm nerding out on it, and I get some people don't like that sort of stuff where people talk over sounds, and, you know, fair enough, don't watch it. But I like to, you know, nerd out. In fact, the module's still sitting here. It's still all plugged in. I haven't actually taken it apart yet. See, there you go. From the video. It's still sitting in
Very
there.
nifty.
Yep. I've got to pull that out now, though, because I've got some other videos that I'm doing. But what I was going to say about the video was one thing that I found, because I actually hadn't done a edited video like that properly about synths since the Behringer Brains video that I did, which Behringer actually asked me to make, and that was about 2 years ago. So I thought, shite, that's a long time since I've done a proper vid. So there you go.
Did it all come back quickly, or was it you're a bit rusty at times?
There were some rusty bits with me talking, and I probably had to edit some bits out. But
That's the hardest part, isn't it? It's doing the stuff to camera. Well,
It is.
over camera.
Yeah.
Demonstrating. The video editing's kind of the fun part. It's getting the actual material together and getting the idea across in the amount of time you want to. That's the hard bit.
I mean, trying to sort of work out. I mean, there were some things that I probably should have said in the video, like I probably should have talked more about the CS80 side of it, and I thought, nah, I don't want to, because I really kind of wanted to get straight into the sounds. I didn't really want to sort of talk about the history of it or anything, because people can just, you know, do that another time, and that's less talking, by the way. But for me, the workflow that I've got in here, I don't know if you guys watched Sonic State on Wednesday, but if you haven't, go watch it, because
half of it.
They talked a little bit about camera and rigging and stuff. So Ben was talking about he's cleaned out his studio and he's redone a whole bunch of stuff. Nick always talks about how he's got these ladders that he's used on trusses and stuff like that. And Alex has actually been into Nick's studio in Bath and done stuff when he was working for Source Distribution and things like that. So Alex and Nick have done videos together in there. And one of the things that was interesting to hear was kind of how it was really important, like especially with people like Alex and Nick, of course, you know, are doing this as a full-time career now. So they're literally living off what YouTube pays them, basically, which is, you know, good luck to them. I could never do it. But one of the things I thought was really interesting was how the workflow was really important, right? And what they were talking about was when you're producing a video, you don't want to have to be doing a whole bunch of different camera angles and then, you know, tucking them into some sort of editing suite, and then somehow you've got to edit all that and get all the audio synced, and, you know, that would just be a pain in the ass, which is how some people do it because they probably don't know any better. And one of the things that I learned really quickly, and this
haven't got many cameras.
Well, this is that's probably the other problem too. Yeah, but I learned really quickly, and this was actually talking to Nick many years ago, is that if you get yourself a decent capture card on your computer, or some way of multiple inputs for cameras coming in at the same time, that can record separately. In my case, I've got the streaming software that I'm using right now to stream this show is also software that I can use to multi-camera switch and input and multi-audio switch and input, and then literally just press one record, and it will multi-record, as well as I could literally just punch out the master if I know what I'm doing really quick. And as a sort of producer, you have to learn how to program this, and, you know, you've got buttons to press, and once you've got really good at that, it's quick to make videos. So in a sense, the video only took me about 4 hours to do in terms of recording it, editing it, and posting it up on YouTube. And that's probably
pretty efficient.
That's pretty efficient. So I was really happy with that.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought I'd mention it because some people are sort of I know they're keen on getting more into the YouTube-y, you know, showing their stuff, especially if they're doing performances too. They want to do their jams and stuff.
Yeah.
So I definitely would recommend getting yourself some sort of rigging.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you can see, maybe you can see it on this view. Not this view. Give me a sec. Let me show you the rigging.
I've shown this camera on a boom mic here.
I've shown the guys this before, right? But I'll show it again. I make this rigging. Oh, it's a bit dusty, but who gives a shit? Where are we? So this rigging here, okay, it's literally just, it's not that stable. It's literally just sitting on top of my desk with legs. But these are just square pipes that you buy from the hardware store, and you can click them in. They've got little plastic elbows. You click them in, and you just buy the clamps from your camera shop. These clamps, Manfrotto, whatever the brands are. That's a GoPro there, right? And I've got I've got these rigging things here across each desk. There's one in front of me as well. So there's one literally right up here where this camera is here. That's on the rigging that goes across this desk here. There's one across that desk, and there's one across the one in the corner where the ARP 2600 is. And literally there's cameras and mount points all across there, and I've got an ATEM Mini, which you guys know is a video switcher that you can buy from Blackmagic. And that all comes in via USB to the computer, and then I can switch with my computer which camera I want to use using a MIDI controller. So as I'm doing my shows, you guys will see I'm doing my shows and I'm switching between cameras. Like, I can switch between that camera, or I can switch to that camera. These are all cameras that are live. That's my PDZ camera, the one that I can move around. And then, you know, you don't have to get these things, right? PDZ cameras.
No.
They're just really cool to have. When you're working with Eurorack, I found the PTZ solution the best because you can do things like this. There's a sort of overview, and then let's zoom into something. That wasn't a very good example, but
nice.
Store presets.
No, but we get the idea. That's good.
And it's not too. It doesn't make you too sickly when you're seeing it. You know? So
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that just makes life so much quicker when you're producing videos. Anyway.
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, my setup's a bit Heath Robinson. Something. Let me try and move the camera slightly. If I take the camera and move it over here, I've got an M3 camera there, which is it's just on a boom arm, but it will turn and go upwards. I've also got a hook up there which I can hang a camera on, and over this side, if I can, you see right at the top on the shelves, there's little mounts that I can use for the GoPro or the cameras, so I can move stuff around, really. But I don't have a regular. I'm now not going to do anything else with it, obviously. But I don't have a regular sort of setup. That's the only thing that stays. This one over here.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I've only got two workable cameras really. I've got GoPro, which is currently sat here because I've just been using it, and I've got the Canon M50, I think it is, and a very average, webcam, really. So I'm
you don't have
limited
to buy
by the number of cameras.
expensive. You don't have to buy expensive cameras.
No.
The cameras I've
Although
got, a lot of people ask me what have I got. I've got just standard GoPros, GoPro Black Hero 5s or whatever they are.
I've got a 7.
Mine might be 7 actually. You might be right.
Yeah.
I've got a cheap Sony,
Mine's a
the handheld Handycam thing, and the only reason why I bought it is because it has HDMI out. And once you've got a HDMI out, it becomes a useful camera. The main camera that I use for my face is quite a nice camera. It's a Sony Alpha, mirrorless. They're a nice camera because you want to have, if you're showing your mug, if you're showing your mug, you want to have a decent lens. That's a Carl Zeiss Sony lens in it, and you want to have a little bit of bokeh, right? Which is that blurry background. You want to have a little bit of that. And the better,
depth of field
that you get, it just looks nice. It looks nice and sharp. So, and the camera that I use for my overhead, which is really important, that this is a good low light, high light, everything light, is another Sony, but this is a 4K camera, this one here. And that's actually a handheld video camera as well. But this thing has got like incredible zoom on it because it's 4K. So and I can control that via MIDI as well because it's got the Sony USB MIDI controller, whatever it's called, thing in it. The protocol that they use. So,
You want to see this funny rig I have set up here? This is kind of so I'm putting my hand on this rig that can go down on the. I'm showing like the apps and stuff like that. But if I go to this rig here, I've actually. If you guys know what a what Kajukenbo is and Eskrima and all kinds of martial arts stuff, that's an Eskrima stick.
Yeah.
Looks like it has blood on it. But the guy actually the guy had a red stick I used to spar with. I cable tied that to my rack here, and I basically have some lights, some cameras, and some other stuff all going different directions off of it, like one of those "You Are Here" signs they had in the wartime, pointing different directions.
Yeah, gotcha. Yep.
And then and I have another camera set up over by the drums over there. And so you can do ghetto style.
You got a good size room,
type
Andy.
stuff to things.
It's a good size room.
Actually, while I'm talking about the room, I wasn't meaning to talk about it now, but since people have asked in the chat and lately about stuff, I did have a studio tour video went up on Clownfest this week. Piero played it for Clownfest 11. It's supposed to play in 10, but I got the video uploaded late. So if you guys want to see this whole thing with the lights turned on and stuff, it's only about 60% of my crap, but there's a studio tour video on his channel that he's going to upload. So
because we only see your little corner mostly, don't we?
We do.
Yeah, because it's it's kind of a hallway right here with vertical here, vertical here, vertical here. So you kind of have to go back. You can see that you kind of go around there. So even if I had a camera set to show this, it's blocked by stuff,
It's kind of like your little little work area.
It's the room of a madman, basically. So.
Yeah. Hey, they're all room of madmen and women.
I mean, when I did this room, I deliberately did it so that it was, I just used the outside of the room, so it's just basically like a rectangle, and the only part that I haven't put desks in is just on this side of me. You can't see it, but there's a door next to that table there, and then there's a lounge in the corner, because you got to have a lounge in a studio. You got to have. If you don't have a lounge, you got to have somewhere where you can get away from your computer. Yeah, you got to be able to chill out somewhere.
I mean, next door is my study, so I've got a lounge too.
You guys have seen, I've shown it to you before, with the dog sleeping on that.
Yeah, mine's got a PS4 in it and a telly.
Door. That's my lounge, and then the kitchen.
Yeah.
Next door. I couldn't get a sofa.
Actually, one of the big debates of us moving house is I've obviously got to have a studio, so that becomes part of the main criteria to actually, And I mean, some of the houses we've seen, we saw a really, I mean, the house was too small, but it had this purpose-built workshop stroke, which I would just use as a studio out in the garden, and it was absolutely perfect. But the house was too small, So,
we did a show. Which we've done two. We've done 2 streams where we've asked people to send in photos of their studio, and guys in the chat have been saying, like Azio Head's been saying, my studio is my lounge. And I remember him showing photos of his studio, and I thought it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, slick. It was good. I enjoyed that bit.
Wigoo's showing off his racks before.
Bathrooms, the vocal booth,
So we're probably due to do another one, I reckon.
Done that.
When was the last time we did that? It was a while ago. We're probably due to do another one. It takes a little while to plan
Can we
those
wait
shows.
till I've moved?
Yeah, wait till you move. Yeah, why not? Absolutely.
It looks like it'll be before Christmas.
You hold everything up, Ian. Go on. Well,
no, sorry. No, actually, what we could do is do it anyway, and then I'll just catch up when I'm after.
Do it in the back of your Pickford's van, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This is my studio. I keep telling the guy in the removal van to not leave. Yeah. I've had 3 locations of music gear in this house that I live in. So the 3 that I've had over the years has been a small bedroom upstairs, then another bedroom downstairs, which is where I was previously. When I started streaming, I was in there, and now I configured this room, which used to be a TV / what they call home theater type room, and no one was using it. I think I've talked about this before. No one was watching TV. We had this thing called Foxtel, which is a bit like what you guys have got Sky in the UK, right? And I disconnected it because we were spending all this money on this, satellite / cable TV type setup here, and no one was literally using it. And I just went, what are we spending? Like, we're going through our expenses of the year, and I'm like, we're paying like all this money and no one is literally watching this TV. It's sitting here, it's collecting dust. So I went, if no one's watching the TV, I'll move the TV upstairs. And that made this room completely like no longer being a TV / theater. So I thought, this is going to be a music room. And then
good move.
That was easy. But my kids come in here, they like my son, he's only 8, turning 9 in a couple of days. He sits at that desk there and he does his homework. Sometimes he's got a desk in his room upstairs, but he likes to sit and do his homework with me sitting in this room, so he can ask me questions. And it's cool. Also nice. And it's also a music rehearsing studio as well. So my 2 kids, my son plays violin and piano, and he does lessons at school, and my daughter plays flute. So they all come in here and they do their rehearsing in this room. So it's not just me being selfish in this room, but it mostly is.
You're telling us, Ranz.
It is. It's mostly me.
It's still a man cave. Come on. So.
It is. Yeah, it's a synth room. Right. We don't have any other segments, people. So yeah, we could talk the head off a horse, I'm sure. But do you guys want to bring any topics up? I do need to mention one, and I'll hand it over to anyone else in a sec. And that is JX3D is going to be having a what do you call it?
Party.
Launch party.
A launch party for his new album. Now we mentioned his new album a couple of weeks back, so head on over to JX3D's channel, which I will get one of the mods.
It's called Expanded.
Can chuck that link in if they can, please. Yep.
I've watched it this morning, but I've not had a chance to listen to it yet.
Expander, sorry.
Expander.
So let's give him no name that synth this week. Let's give him a bit of love, because I always say when someone has produced an album, whether they've done a lot of them or whether they've done hardly, it doesn't matter. When someone's produced an album, it's like Brooksy's done it recently with Grace. I'm going through it right now. It's a labour of love. It really is. Sometimes you want to throw your synth at the screen. Sometimes you're you're absolutely over the moon with what's happening. Sometimes you can't stand yourself. It's just one of those kind of frustrating / love / weird sort of emotional roller coasters that you go through. And when you're releasing it, it's kind of like, it's almost like you're exhaling to the world.
Exactly.
You're like, here's my art that I have completed, and it's kind of like, now it's up to you to enjoy. Over to you type thing.
Because mine's going to be out. I haven't quite decided, but it'll probably be November for the release of mine. And it's done. I've just got to master it. And I'm happy with. I'm happy with it. I'm really happy with it. Actually, there were some tracks that never made it, and then maybe just I might just stick them at the end of the Bandcamp thing. But you're right. I'm already starting to think of the next project. You know, that project is done. Yep. I may end up I played so much of it live already. I may play a bit more live, but fundamentally, in my mind, I'm thinking of the next thing. You know.
I'm already starting the next one as well.
Yeah, you do. You know. Yeah. And you want people to like it, but you know.
Yeah, of course you do.
You know, you can't please everybody.
Oh, and I think we'd be stupid to expect everyone as well. I mean, I think what I do is an acquired taste. Absolutely, it's a little bit self-indulgent. But I
think that's. I mean, me too. But I have to say, listen. I mean, I've listened to your album once this morning. I've put it into a Reaper project, and then just as you sequenced it, played the whole thing through, because I like to listen to a whole album as a whole album and just pick tracks
before you start it.
I love the bass on it. The bass sounds great. You know, there's a couple of little things that I'll send you an email about.
Yeah.
There's nothing negative about it. I really, really liked it. And where did you do all the samples? Did you do some yourself? Or,
that's one of the. I mean, that's one of the things that took me a long time. That was So there, some were sourced and some were recorded, and the recording stuff was some really interesting journeys.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's really, really cool. Really cool.
Yeah. I kind of got the idea. You guys will find out, but we're kind of talking in riddles here. But I kind of got the idea. It's a little bit progressive in that sense. I kind of wanted it to have a bit of a progressive sort of feel to it. So like a little bit like when I was a kid, Dad used to play Pink Floyd and stuff like that to me, and Yes, and you had these kind of weird themes going on in some of the tracks that they would make, and sometimes musically it's hard to create that theme. So I thought I'll do an album where there's a double play on words, and then I'll sort of progress down that theme a little bit to sort of cement it in. And that was kind of where it started, and then I probably got a bit carried away with the whole idea, but So
I mean, in terms of the length of it, I think the length is about spot on, because that's what I it's 50 odd minutes, so that's pretty much what the length of an album that I would do, really. I mean, I think my album is about the same sort of length as yours. My tracks are longer. I've got some sort of 10-minute tracks.
Yeah.
But no, I mean,
I've got one more that you haven't got yet, so that will make it slightly longer. And it is an ambient track, and it will probably sort of hit around the sort of 4 to 5 minute mark, that one. Right. I used to do some longer tracks, and like some of my earlier albums, I used to do sort of 6-7 minute tracks, and I don't know, like maybe I'm becoming impatient with some of these recordings that I'm doing. I'm not sure, but when I listen to something, I don't want someone to get bored of something being repetitive. That's kind of where I'm worried about. And musically, it's so easy to become repetitive. So I'm trying to sort of consciously catch myself to, even though I'm enjoying sounds, I love sounds, and to sit there and listen to it over and over again because you love it. Not everyone's going to do that. So that's where you got to catch yourself by being repetitive. And so what I try to do is I try to sort of change things slightly, whether I might pitch something, whether I might add an effect on it, whether I might add another layer to it. That's just so that I don't break that repetitive mold.
I call that not overstaying your welcome.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it.
It's
Yeah.
kind of what it is. You don't want to labour the point. You just sort of, just, okay, I've said what I need to say. Now let's transform a bit. Let's put a new perspective on it. Let's keep things evolving. Keeps it interesting.
Brooksy does that
Yeah,
with
I like that too.
his music. I like how he does that.
Same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Ad
nauseam.
No, you don't. The opposite.
Yeah. I mean, I tend to avoid the sort of the trance thing where you've got the rise and you've got the drop, and I do tend to try and avoid doing that because I sometimes feel it's sort of almost done to death.
The light and
So I would
shades.
always try and
The rise and
do
drop
something
versus
slightly
the light
different.
and shade. I like light and shade, but maybe not rise and drop, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No.
It's kind of the...
It was the Nirvana
Kill it
thing,
all.
which was loud and
Kill it
noisy,
off.
and then quiet, wasn't it?
I've done a few.
The
Look,
Nirvana thing.
Ian will know this. I've done a few where I've literally stopped stuff dead in the middle of something, and then you've gone what, and you've probably listened to something, and then it brings you back slowly back into the track. So there's a few tracks that do that, but then there's other tracks where I don't do it at all, and it's just light and shade all the way through. And there's some that just keep building and building and building and never get to any sort of climax and then just end. So I'm really fucking with you guys. Trust me, I'm doing it on purpose.
I think people love it because I thought it was great. I mean, that's just a first listen, so I'm looking forward to listening to it again.
Any clues as when, Ian?
Well,
We've not had that conversation yet, have we?
not really, but we're pretty close. We're talking,
Yeah.
weeks. I'd say weeks.
We'll-
It's going to come down. There's going to be two factors here. It's going to come down to Ian is extremely busy right now with his moving his house and stuff like that. So I don't want to put an extra baggage load on him right now when he's got a massive thing happening in his life. So I'm more than happy to be patient, and at the same time, he's the master of his own world, so he can tell me what his work schedule's like. So I'll work around that. That's the first part.
I think we'll get the Bandcamp version out first. We'll do what we did with Andy and Grace. Bandcamp version first. The thing that takes the time, when obviously I'm still working on Andy and Grace's streaming release, which will be the end of this month. I've not done it. I've not even started. I mean, I haven't quite finished the press kit yet. So we'll do the Bandcamp first. Release it on Bandcamp with it. If you've got any extra tracks, that's the time to sort of put them at the end of the Bandcamp. Because I like the idea of putting a couple of extra tracks on with Bandcamp,
tracks, yeah.
and then you don't put them on the streaming. So the people that buy Bandcamp who actually pay for it rather than just pay Apple and Spotify,
So
they
definitely
get
got extra
something
tracks
extra.
there. Yep.
They get something extra, but we'll have that conversation, but yeah. So no, I mean, I'm up for doing it sooner rather than later. So as soon as you're ready, really, we'll
Yeah.
The Bandcamp release is easier once we've got artwork and stuff.
Well, I think I've finished most of the artwork. So where I'm at with the artwork at the moment is I've done an album cover, I've done track listings, all that sort of stuff. Any sort of barcodes and shit like that you need to give me, that'll we'll sort that out later.
I'll do the once I've got all the tracks, I'll do the IRSC codes. The barcode for the album won't be until the streaming is ready to go, because they create that barcode for me.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can give Andy and Grace's theirs soon, actually, as soon as I've finished the.
I'm in the middle of doing the CD artwork now, so because once you've done the album cover, track listing,
It's the same thing,
CD,
isn't it?
it's a format thing in Photoshop basically. But for me, I mean, in the past I've done the CDs myself, and I've used CD Baby to print them, and I've just brought them back here and just kept a box of a small run of CDs, and then as people buy them through Bandcamp, send them out. That's kind of how I've done it in the past. But I'm happy to work with you on any change that you want to do with that side of it. There's no problem at all. I don't
Okay.
care. There are people that buy CDs, by the way. So
yeah, we can certainly put it on the Bandcamp site and then you know, do it that way. We'll sort that, won't we?
Yeah.
You know.
But all this sort of stuff is once the Andy, you know this. You've just been through it with Grace, right? Once the hard work's done, it's almost a little bit exciting because you kind of like, you know, let's get it out there.
Yeah, I mean, for ours is a bit different because it was live recordings that we did for Hardware Jams, basically. So they all existed. It was just a case of tweaking them, sometimes topping and tailing them. Just Grace did some mastering work on them. So it wasn't, in that sense, a painful process. We have talked about how we go about recording a proper studio album, which will, but obviously that can only be done when Grace is around. We might be getting a bit more time, perhaps from the end of September into October. We may be able to start creating proper studio tracks rather than just, hey, let's do a jam and record it and see what it's like, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, generally that's how my tracks evolve. I start jamming in.
That's how my tracks evolve.
And it ends up.
Then I live with them for months, and then
you know, there's some tracks that I've put on the album which I made years ago, and I have always been meaning to go back and fix them up, and I thought now's the time, fix them up, and just finish them, you know, and I did.
Yeah,
Grace has actually been putting some cool tracks up with her friend. I don't know if you guys watch her channel, but there's a friend.
Who was that? Say again.
Grace, she's doing some cool little jams with a friend that comes by once in a while. I forgot the friend's name.
Yeah.
But,
Seb.
No, not Seb. It's some other person that comes by, and they do some kind of dark
Sophie, I think.
stuff. Sophie, that's it. Yeah, those are really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the oldest track of mine was started in 2016, and it's actually got some samples of Daphne Aurum in it, and I've been able to get. I've been able to license those quite cheaply, really, you know. Cool. And it was the track was originally done for a Daphne Aurum competition thing at the Science Museum in London. Like I say, 2016, so it was around for quite a while, but it's been updated and slightly modified, gone back to the multi-track, you know. So and never throw anything away. I never throw anything away. I always, you know.
Yeah, there's one track that I did where I created. You guys would listen to it and you'll think this actually really happened, but it was actually created by using a whole bunch of samples and using reverb, and using reverb properly, like as if it's actually a real environmental type reverb that's happening in the real world. And you'll listen to it and you'll think that's just been recorded. That's actually happened, but it wasn't. It was all samples used.
That's okay. You got me now thinking which one that is, but I'll have to go back and listen.
Yeah. It's probably the least obvious one. So you'll probably work that one out now. Yeah. So anyway. I think, you know, if anyone's watching this and you're sort of sitting there and you're thinking, I do music, I'm mucking around, get an album out if you can. Like, it doesn't have to be a full album. It could be, you know, 5 or 6 tracks.
EP.
It could be an EP.
An EP.
Start with an EP.
The idea of an EP. Yeah. That's a good
start with a small one.
I mean, some people start with singles. I mean, I've never been that hugely fond of putting out singles. I have when I was in a band, but some people will put out 2 tracks. Put it onto
the problem I have with the problem I have with artists who put out singles is that when they do release an album, they don't put the singles on it because it's too long ago, man. I can't have that on the same album. And you sit, you wait, you hear that you thought, they're going to have an album soon. I'll be able to get so I have to go back and buy those tracks now, and there weren't any on the album. Oh, that drives me nuts.
I only did it once. I did it with a song I did called Cosmos, and when I ended up putting it on the album, it kind of felt like it didn't belong there. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I'd already written that song, and it was kind of in between two albums. And when I released the album subsequently, it didn't really. I don't know. It probably does. Other people wouldn't even notice. But for me, it doesn't feel like it fits.
That's where you made me just add an opportunity for like the bonus track. You know, sometimes there's a weird track on an album that doesn't seem to belong there, but it's because you know it's a bonus track and it's right at the end.
Exactly.
You have a longer pause before it.
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned before that there is a track that I've written and it will now appear on 3 albums as part 1, part 2, and part 3. So, and I don't know of anyone doing that before. I'm sure someone has, but I thought it would be a really cool idea because it's just slowly evolving this particular track over 3 different albums. And when I originally made that track, I've talked about this before, right? I had so much content for this one track. Darren, we talked about this, I'm sure, ages ago.
Yeah.
How we when you make a track and you end up with a crap load of content. And it's really hard for you to actually get the actual track, the first one, out because you just have to, you know, throw a heap of stuff in the bin. You're not sure what to keep.
Yeah, you have to kill too many babies. Yeah, it's difficult.
And one of the cool things that I found from that was that I could reuse some of those extra elements and then make a second track and reuse any more to make the third. There's probably even enough to make a fourth. Now that I think about it. So
it's like I did an EMOM where I did it was with an organelle, so it was based on sort of drum, and it was very glitchy and sort of and I really liked it, and for a long time it was in the album, but it just didn't fit with everything else. So I had to, I messed around with it and tried changing it and just couldn't make it work, so it's not there, you know. And like I say, it might be a bonus, so I might leave it till it'll fit somewhere else, probably in about 2030. That's probably when it'll come out.
In the past, most of my albums have been just like random tracks that I've thrown together and chuck them on an album. That's what they've been, and I don't think it's been any real theme to each track. Like, there's no link between the tracks. This is the first time where I've actually gone and sat down and thought, let's do something a little bit more, themic, and let's work this out and, put some effort into the whole thing, make it so that it's interesting throughout, not just a few bunch of random tracks that some people will like, some people might not. And that becomes, that was kind of that prog stuff that I had in my early days, when you guys are all the same sort of age as me, so you know what I'm talking about. That influence in the days where you'd listen to music and they would be telling you a tale, so you would be captivated by the story, but at the same time the music would take you on a journey as well. And I'm not going to profess that I'm some sort of massive prog electronic artist or anything like that because I'm not, but it had elements of that, is what I'll say, like small elements of that.
I always like a theme. I always have there's a story based around this album, which was based around a 1960s TV show, but actually based around a photograph of a building that I've got in my dining room. So that was the catalyst for the whole album. The tracks don't necessarily link together, although there's a linear element to it. The only time I've ever done I did a triple album. It took bloody years, and it was based around a recording that I did from 5 o'clock. It was 3 hours in total, but it was a thunderstorm in Bristol. I was in this really crappy hotel in Bristol, and this thunderstorm woke me up, and I stuck my little recorder by the window because the room was so hot that Jane and I had to have the window open. And in fact, there is a disagreement between me and Jane. I think you can hear Jane snoring in it. She says it's me. But in real time, we've got
probably me snoring.
The titles are like 6:15 a.m. and 7:15, and at one point about 7:30 in the morning, the refuse truck turns up, and scaffolding falls outside. The storm is so bad and stuff like that. So all of that's in there, and I use the actual original recording as like another instrument. know.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So
Sampling is so much fun, isn't it? It's really cool fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a pain in the ass doing some of the samples I had to do, but like running around with this thing, that's why it's still sitting right here. Running around with this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've got an earlier version.
It's literally been sitting here since I finished that album. So I think I went through about 3 sets of 4 AA batteries while I was making that album. Because there was hours of crap that I'd recorded. And going through it, trying to find the right thing that you think fits. It's
I approve
pain
of
in
that.
the ass.
Field recording. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yep, I've done field recording. I did it for the film, the feature film that I worked on, the independent one. And I had to do, of course, all the sound effects as well. So I was doing a lot of Foley and also doing a lot of field recording. And you just end up with hard drives full of stuff. I actually recorded a lot of the originals on mini discs, and I still got the mini discs there, the raw recordings.
There's a really good book on
field recording.
There's a really good book on Foley and sound design, which is the Sound Effects Bible. Have you seen that?
I've
it's not
seen
expensive.
That. Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Sounds
some really good tips in that.
I'm sure there was.
I'm one of those weird guys in the field with a parabolic mic recording birds and stuff.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that for decades.
I remember watching a BBC series on it, and it would have been a while ago. You know, we're talking probably maybe even 90s or maybe early 2000s. But I remember them talking about a whole bunch of different, themed TV shows and movies and what they used to record sounds and a whole bunch of stuff. I think it may have been Doctor Who. It may have been, what was that other show? I think there was elements of Doctor Who. There was, because they were using some sound effects in that, the very early series of Doctor Who, not the later one. Because they were using tapes and stuff like that, and tape effects. And I just found it extremely interesting. But, I mean, we were all kids. I used to run around in the creek when I was a kid with a handheld cassette recorder and pretend I was in the war and I was making bomb sounds and, splashing in the water and pretending that we're running from the enemy. Yeah. We used to do shit like that.
My parents, God bless them, can still attest to me being Mr. Sound Effects in the house. I was always the guy making noises at the drop of a hat. So I think I was doomed at an early age to do this kind of stuff.
Thanks, Brooksy, for putting that up. Good. I think Henrik has just
arrived. Hi, Henrik.
I've put it in a few times.
Hey, hi, Henrik.
Yeah, thanks for that. Awesome. Yeah, no, good chat about the making stuff. Because, I mean, we share this not just because we are wanting to blow our own trumpet. We're sharing it because, hopefully you guys out there are thinking the same thing. And, connect up to us if you need help with finishing your music, because we're more than happy to help. There's Discord during the week, or you can just talk to us during the shows or in the comments or whatever. All of us here are capable.
Even if it's just and just sharing stuff. Sometimes you might feel as though this isn't good enough, and then we all listen to it and go, let's do it, release it. That's well worth releasing.
We all go through that.
Might give you that extra.
Sometimes your family are probably sick of hearing from you too. So sometimes it's good to go outside your family, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, actually, I was going to say my kids don't listen to my music, but actually they do, and they're always very positive. And I will occasionally play stuff to Jane, but yes, but I suppose that because I'm making it for myself.
Is that supposed to be music, Ian?
Yeah, well, exactly, and because some of it is, let's face it, some of my stuff is weird and wonderful, And Jane comes to Emons with me, and she puts up with the fact that I'm there. I'm playing my 15 minutes of weirdness, So, don't think it's not good enough, because it really is. Whatever you decide to do, and if you're happy with it, then put it out. And I learned that fairly early on.
Sometimes they like our stuff, though.
Unless you're never happy with it.
I mean, and it's never finished, is it? Really? There's a point where you have to decide that enough is enough.
Darren, your lovely lady's quite supportive of you, I feel. So I think you're pretty lucky there. So.
Yeah. Well, she met Andy, so. Yeah, but does it mean that you?
What does that?
I'm not sure how we should take that.
What does that mean? She's met Andy. It's like this life-changing
So
event.
surprised.
This day I met Andy Brooks.
Oh, she
hasn't met me. That's
no,
no,
she was lovely. That was a lovely thing to do, Darren. Actually, at Blackpool. I'm very glad that you turned up. The both of you.
Yeah. No.
Did he show the park bench?
Take the park bench with me. Good. I forgot what I was going to say now. Gone out of my mind.
Supportive wife was probably where we were talking. Yeah.
Good tell us if he's
probably
comment
the
there.
live
Best
set that
comment
I'm doing.
Best comment from
like a real
the
song,
family.
yeah.
That sounds.
Sound like a real song.
Yeah.
But most of them have no idea, do they? Really?
No. I mean, actually,
It's
Jane
like
really
the
likes
live set.
the pop stuff that I did back in 2012. When I did a pop music with a girl. We had a girl fronted band, and she likes that sort of. It was power pop, sort of based around 80s stuff, and she likes that much more so than the weird electronic stuff, you know. But she's very tolerant of me.
See, if I plug in the ARP 2600 and I tell my wife that Michael Jackson used to press this gate button on it to do the shooting star sound at the start of Thriller, she will listen to me. But if I tell her anything else, she'll be like, "No, not interested," and she walks out.
Yeah,
that's as far as it goes. And she calls them pianos, by the way. That's a piano there. That's a piano there. That's a piano there. They're all pianos.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
How many pianos do you need?
Yeah.
And why don't you buy them all from Park Pianos?
If we did, the habit would be terrible. It would be, each piano is like $100,000.
Yeah, it's huge.
I wouldn't mind though. Honestly, I would not mind a massive
a nice grand
piano.
Yeah.
I would love a grand.
You could fit one in that space behind you there, Ranz. That would fit.
You would not.
I would crawl around it.
You'd have to crawl over it to get in the room. It probably would fit. You wouldn't be able to get it through the door. You might be able to fit it out the front there.
You have to have it assembled in the room.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I was lucky enough to go to a nice school, and they had a massive grand piano, like it was the full size.
9 foot.
Yeah. And geez, it sounded beautiful. I sat there when no one was in the hall. I would sit there because I used to do things like drama and stuff like that, and I'd tell the teachers, I'm going to be helping you guys out with the mixing and the lights and stuff. So I used to sort of sit at the back of the stage, and then everyone would rack off and go to lunch or whatever, and I'd sit there and I'd play the piano, and the place was empty, and I would just be like freaking out on some of the cool sounds that you could get out of this huge grand piano. It was, it was incredible, and that's probably where I fell in love with it. That was probably it when I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I went through a period. I mean, I fell out of love with piano because obviously I learnt piano first, and then didn't properly play piano for 2 or 3 years. And then when I was working at university, they used to have these practice rooms with grand pianos in, and they had a Bosendorf in one of them. And I just used to book a lunchtime for an hour, and I would just literally sit there and just play and just improvise. And that's when I sort of fell back in love with playing piano again. Playing on a really good instrument, an instrument I would never be able to afford.
Oh yeah, these are like $200,000-$300,000 pianos.
Yeah.
And
they just sound great, even when you're not a great piano player like me, they still sound great.
Oh yeah. The crappy playing that I could do was never anything like some of these incredible students that I had when I was going to school. They were like learning from preschool days all the way through until graduating, and here I was probably pissing off my piano teacher because I never practiced enough. I'd always have an excuse. Why didn't you practice? But yeah, in my house when I was a kid, we had an upright, which was pushed up against the wall, and you'd go into the lounge room and you'd sit on the piano bench and you'd play it. And acoustically, it was nice. It was, you know, I used to stare like at the wood on the actual upright, and it had all these different. I used to reckon there was faces in the wood grain. I used to sit there and play, and you'd stare at the wood because you'd be thinking about what you're making, and you just like stare at the and you think, wow, is that like a demon face in the wood? What is that?
It's possible. You're probably opening up your mind to that kind of suggestion.
Too much
because you're
LSD.
using the musical part of your brain. In the wood,
In the wood,
in the 70s it might have been.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was 70s.
My upright had those candelabras, had little candelabras on it.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I ended up not playing it because it lived in our dining room, and I think I had a Yamaha P90 digital piano upstairs, which I used all the time. So I just stopped playing it. I mean, plus it needed tuning fairly regularly, and, and all of that. And we ended up giving it away. We gave it away to where it was going to be played. Though we gave it away to a school.
Oh, that's a shame. My mum has still got my piano, and she says it's mine. She says it's been written in the family will. It's mine to take. And I'm thinking, I don't know how the hell I'm going to get that across half of Australia to where I live, because that's she lives in a different part of Australia. I'll have to like drive there, I think, and hire a trailer. I don't know how I'm going to do it. So I just said, let's leave it there for now. It's fine. But yeah. The thing is, once I get it here, what am I going to do with it? It'd be like, what was his name that did the piano stuff? Cuckoo.
No.
Cuckoo.
Yeah. You guys know Cuckoo, right? The Swedish guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
The open upright where he puts the stuff in there.
Yeah, he was doing all this weird
treated
piano sampling stuff, which I was actually quite interested in. I don't know why. I was just...
It was John Cage who first did that, wasn't it?
Oh no, it goes back earlier than that.
Does it go back earlier? The first person I knew to do it was Cage, but
remind me who John Cage is, because I'm not.
He did 433, the silent thing.
The
4 minutes 33.
Composer.
Yeah. He did. I mean, actually, he did some really. I mean, that was, that's the famous piece, isn't it? But some of his other stuff is really, really good. He did an amazing
on YouTube. There's
tape.
the old Steve Allen show where he did some stuff with playing radios, dropping stuff in the bathtub.
Yeah.
It was all like a sound exploration.
Yeah,
he did an incredible tape montage with using I Ching, which took him literally months to do. So he would take I don't know. He took the data. Can't quite remember how he did it, but he took the data from the I Ching book, and then created all these incredible tape things.
Was he the guy that took basically the guts of the piano where the strings are, and he took that out, and he had that sort of upright? Was he the guy that, and he was banging it with that, I don't know, a mallet or a hammer or something?
He would put things in it. I don't know that he actually took the mechanism out, but certainly he would put things inside of the piano.
Right. Because I'm thinking of some other one. I don't know who it was. There was some guy who was famous. He literally pulled apart a piano, just kept the string chassis, right, which has got the wooden rails and the strings all fixed. You could still tune it and everything, but it looked like a harp almost. That's how it looks when you actually pull it out. And he would bang them with the mallet, and it would sound so different. Like, you know how a piano hammer is like a felt, right, sort of thing, right? Well, most of them are, aren't they? They're felt, aren't they? I'm pretty sure they're felt. Yeah. So he would bang it with a mallet, like, proper glockenspiel type mallet, which are kind of a soft. I don't think they're felt, but they're similar, right? And he'd get a different sort of timbre out of it, and it was interesting. I forget who it was though, and it was like ages ago. It was like, I could have sworn it was like 60s. It was kind of that Woodstock. Yeah. How many times do you want to record this?
It's just like a piano, isn't it? And then you hit it with these sort of curved hammers. I love the sound of a dulcimer.
Well, it was a bit dulcimer, wasn't it?
There's another instrument like a dulcimer, because I went to a concert in Hull a few years back, and it wasn't a dulcimer, but it it was exactly that. It was
The dustbin.
like a smaller piano, like the strings of a piano, like a dustbin. And
frozen cat on
you
a
did hit
bandsaw.
it with hammers, yeah. But it didn't sound like a dulcimer. It had a completely different sound.
Well, the neighbour,
Well,
when I was a kid, the neighbour had a love for making organs. He actually, he made an organ in his house. He had a sort of 2-story loft sort of style rake ceiling type
Was it
house.
a pipe organ?
Pipe organ in his house. He made one, and he was he was an electronic engineer. This guy, he's long passed on, and he had a harpsichord in the same room. So he bought the harpsichord obviously because it was like an ancient one, and he made the pipe organ. And you'd go in there, and if he was in a good mood. And because you're just like a 12-year-old kid, he would let you like you have to go and wash your hands. He would let you play it, and it was incredible. Like the bass pipe sounds, I loved. I used to always hit the bass pedals on the pipe organ.
It's the first.
The whole
synthesizer.
windows of the house would like. It was awesome. The neighbors would have hated it.
Hey, Randy, I put a link for John Cage in the chat for people who haven't seen some of his TV appearances. This one called Water Walk is pretty funny.
Yeah, I recognize the reference now. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. The guy that, if you guys want to know someone to check out, I don't know if there's a lot of material on him though. There's an Iceland electronic artist who
Go on.
his name's John Heller. And he's behind
Well, I
a
didn't
lot
know
of
about that
music
one.
with online games. And there's this famous game that was out in the 2000s called Eve Online, which is kind of like a sci-fi
Space game.
Yeah.
So I thought
he
I
wrote-
thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say Olaf or Arnold's.
Oh no, I know
I
who
thought
you're
it
talking
was
about.
too. Yeah.
So this guy, he wrote all the music for the game as you played it. So you were listening to this music in the back. You didn't have to. You could switch it off and listen to your own music. But he wrote this music for the game, and it was really quite eerie. Very science fiction-y sort of music. Anyway, the interesting thing is he was quite not that known in terms of they kept because he worked for the game company as an employee. Because he did other things for him as well. Like he did some programming and stuff. Only in sort of more recent years has the music been released separately. You can now get it on all your streaming platforms. So just search for Real X Eve Online. The artist's name is Real X Eve Online. It's really ambient sort of space sci-fi sort of stuff, and I thoroughly recommend. If you're doing some study or like something the way you want music just to sort of be present in the background, it's really good for that because there's little bits in it that sort of jump out at you when you're listening to it. And he's got this very sort of slow chord progression type. It's this technique where he's just slowly releasing chord progressions to you, and you kind of sort of it's like you're stepping through these chord progressions. So yeah, it's really, really interesting. But what's cool about it is he used a lot of analog gear. He used like Roland MC 30s, which is what a Juno, isn't it? He used the Moogs, the Prophets, and he did it all in Ableton. And he used these string synths that were like part of the Reaper plugin suite as well, and he'd send the DAW string synths out into outboard gear. He had rack mounted sort of effects units and stuff like that, and then bring them back in. So he was really kind of big on the hardware side, which kind of interested me because I always thought that his sound was kind of it did sound quite not so processed. It sounded quite real. Like I liked it that way. So definitely check that out because that was something some of the artists that I kind of not really influenced by, but I'm kind of listening to at the moment. Yeah. Again, not for the first time.
Have you heard of Natasha Barrett?
Nope.
Natasha Barrett is a British composer. She lives in Iceland. I think she lives in Iceland. she does what's considered to be acousmatic art competitions. But she'll do things like she'll when we're talking about sort of field recordings, she'll do ice flow recordings and then incorporate them into her compositions. Really it's not for everybody, but really, really interesting stuff. I first discovered it when I was doing my master's in music tech.
So when you say ice floors, so she's going what? And
ice
banging
flows.
Stuff?
No.
She'll go glaciers.
Ice flows like
so listening to them crack and stuff.
They do all sorts of things.
They're making noise.
That sound.
They make a noise.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not all what
I don't know if
she's done all sorts. So, I mean, she's
I've
done
heard
lots
it,
of things with. She'll do things in ambisonics.
I thought Bjork did that, didn't she?
May well have done.
Someone
Early
just said it
days.
on the chat.
I mean, you would say that Natasha Barrett stuff is not
Really?
commercial at all. Yeah.
Who said that in chat?
As you
Oh, seriously, you just said that. Wow.
What did I say? What did I say? I just say missed.
Yeah.
Actually, Bjork did that decades. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He probably
She's
literally
worth-
wrote
she's
that as
definitely
I
worth a
said it.
listen.
Weird.
Trade Winds was the one from Norway from 2007, which one I remember in particular. But she's an interesting listener at least. Like I said, not for everybody.
I don't mind that sort of weird, like go out on a limb, do something strange, and then bring it in and make it musical. I like that sort of stuff. It's, it's kind of like when you think about it, it's kind of like what Switched on Bark did all those years ago. When you think about it,
because it was a leap, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was a big leap. From
and we
from
all
what
just
was,
we
what
all just
convention
went,
was understood.
Wow, that's what we did. We all went, wow, that's really, really cool.
Especially when we consider limitations of that polyphonic stuff with monophonic systems.
Yeah, all the takes that she would have had to do, like the multi-records.
Perfect matching of all the bits.
Yeah.
It's just...
It just would have been a nightmare. And I think she's talked about it being very painstaking at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, a topic for another day, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great chat, guys. I think we'll probably end the show, because it's almost pumpkin time here.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. 3 minutes to pumpkin.
I'm going to wake up tomorrow and just check to see if Kent's stream is still streaming.
Exactly.
The beer will still be flowing.
Yeah. Pumpkins are out in the chat. Thanks, chatties, for joining us in.
Yeah.
TTFN, absolutely, Keith. Thanks for sending the meat to mate. You've done well. Done well. Keep them up, buddy.
Keith.
Say hi to your mum and press record and all that sort of stuff. Guys, quick hooroo, and then we'll finish up.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
There you go.
See you later.
Don't forget Henrik's.
Next week.
When is that going live?
Canton Henry.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock tonight.
10 o'clock tonight, I think he said.
Yep.
Oh, right.
Soon as
Okay,
chat
we'll have
goes.
to duck out.
We'll have to duck out. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
See you guys. All the best.
We'll see everyone next
Take
week.
care, everyone.
Right.